You can just click on that.
I just found it. Thank you. It's under more on my computer. Anyway, I wrote to Helen, who wrote to Joan, and she sent me a bunch of pictures. So that was really great. And some of them are say we can only wish that that stuff would be in our town right now. I think that's our goal, perhaps. It's certainly mine. Um, I'll try to organize this. Kev, can you pull up the report and then we'll start working off of the documents, I guess.
Yeah, I was trying to show both on my screen. Oh, you have to allow me to share.
Come on. I could share screen. I need to let you do that. Co-host. Yes. Okay. I just made you a co-host.
Okay. I stopped sharing for a second.
Okay.
I want to change what's showing on my screen.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I have your minutes, Kathy, on the right here. And so I'm hoping we can do some copy and pasting or editing to both at the same time. It looks like you have the majority of the discussion that might be better in the report. I don't know if you want to duplicate any of this, but
Well, yeah, there is some stuff in there. For sure.
I was kind of thinking that we should have the report be the report, and then the minutes are kind of short actually for the meeting because we mostly talked about the project and that subject matter should be in the report more so than the minutes.
Yeah, we might want to embed the report in these minutes. And we definitely need a list to accompany the report this time or to be at the bottom of it. Because I
uh,
think they didn't get everything that we talked about. And I forget, I went back through some stuff and I went, oh, bummer, they didn't get this, they didn't get this. It wasn't from the last time, it was from us because we didn't put all the stuff in, I don't think. We weren't clear, and I think we have to be clear. Um, and then um okay, so I'm not sure how you want to start or what you think would be the best way to do this. Do you have comments on your stuff because it's so much shorter than mine? Do you want to use your stuff first, or do you just want to use the minutes?
um, well, I think we can start by just going through the report one item by, item by item. In particular, the ones that we had noted and read for the applicant to respond to. But well, okay, so item number 1-8.1, this was just a note about the state of the project in terms of the FAR. Do we want to keep this in? So actually, I need to call this report number 2, and the meeting date was August 3rd, and we haven't submitted yet. but I will add that date when we do. Might want to revise this. Okay, so do we want to take items out that were just notes in the previous report, or leave it in? So like this first item, we didn't address this in this past meeting, this most recent meeting.
But you sent the report, right?
Yeah, the report was sent. So the idea was that in the subsequent report, so this report number 2, we would add information to each item based on what was discussed in that meeting. So for example, the most recent meeting was 8/3. We had discussed on 6/15 this item about provide more information on how stormwater is treated. And so in this most recent meeting, we discussed it further and we noted that here. So we should keep this entire item in the report.
Keep it
If we,
all. I wouldn't take stuff out necessarily. You could just say has been met, or they do something like that. So there is a early June GCG report that I found under planning board documents today. So it has the August 3rd stuff that we just got, plus that is like right below it. And
so you want to say we should just put the current date on all of these.
Sorry, Kathy, I think Brendan is waiting in the.
Yeah, I just got it.
Okay.
I've been allowed in.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I think we should leave it in because they just say something like has been met or satisfied, and you keep on going.
Mhm.
And I would have to go back to an older project and look right now. But I think we can say, if you've got something in there that says, let's see, how do we do this? What was the red? The red was the new stuff.
Everything that's read in this report was an action item that we were expecting the applicant to provide further clarification on or provide a document at the 8/3 meeting. So we should certainly provide an update on each of those.
Yeah, I think if we fill this up with updates, we're in trouble. So we got to think about a better way to do this. I think if you have written, for instance, up there, maximum FAR is 1.5 for proposed project FAR is 1. And if the FAR is as of right, that's the comment. I think that's the final.
Yeah, that was the comment. So maybe we
So
leave it, but don't write below it.
Right. I don't think we need anything there. I think because otherwise we'll have tons of those and people won't read it. And the idea is to get this to be read.
Okay. All right. So I haven't added anything on this item yet.
So, this project, I looked at the civil drawings today, and the height of this building in the middle peak is 45 feet. And the other two are lower, but they're not much lower. So I am once again, I just sent everybody the streetscapes in Falmouth and Plymouth, by the way, that Joan Gotrati was talking about last time. And honestly, I look at those streetscapes and I go, why aren't we doing stuff like that here? And why are we even still crowded up against the sidewalk, and we literally go out to the envelope, as far as the envelope will allow for our buildings. So what I was starting to say about the GCG report is they're way, according to our rules, they are way under for the amount of parking they're supposed to have for this project, which means they're getting a massive special permit. They're asking for a massive special permit okay on doing that, basically, or dispensation, if you will. And I don't know if this project is doable by pushing this building back farther. It's going to make that second floor patio a lot smaller. I mean, pushing the facade back and losing, you know, some of the units in it.
Yeah,
Or
I was looking at this well, during the meeting, and I saw that they needed 27 dedicated commercial parking spaces, and after the, I think, 0.625 reduction, well, that's after the reduction, but then they were only showing 22 in the plan. So
they're
that's just,
still short.
what's
And
that?
they're still short, and apparently a couple of those spaces, number 17, and I don't remember seeing numbers on the parking spots. Number 17 is too small, but it might be a stall down below, and I didn't check that. But I looked at how the turning radius is supposed to happen for that fire truck. And you know, if they're driving slowly because they're done with their fire, great. But if there's a fire in the back there, they're not going to be driving that slowly. And that corner, one of those corners where they could potentially have a vehicle parked, it's really tight. It's that corner in the back. Somebody commented on it at the meeting. Thought it was you.
Within the parking garage?
No, within the drive lane on the surface. And so I'm just wondering, like,
I don't think that was my comment. I don't remember who said that.
well, you know, they were saying they can't put canopies over the parking spaces because they don't have proper fire access then. And I'm wondering how much bigger are those canopies supposed to be if that's going to impede into that space.
I think a fire truck can drive under a canopy. They just didn't want to spend the money on building it.
Yeah, well, that's why I was trying to get some ideas about how much it would cost. That was something else I did. That was yesterday's project, which I didn't get very far. But, you know, the comment that was made to me eventually was, well, if the ground's all broken up, it's not that much more expensive.
Mhm.
Put it in. So anyway, this is architectural. This first heading is architectural and what?
Architecture and building orientation.
Yeah, I still think it's too close to the street. I don't think we're gonna get anywhere with that. And I think I mean, stuff in Falmouth I just sent back. And they sent two different files, one from Falmouth and one from Plymouth, and I just put them all in the same zip file. They show two different places in both of those towns where there's like walk-through breezeways where the buildings come together. And one of them looks like it's an entrance to a garden in the back. That was Falmouth. And I don't know what the other one goes to. It didn't really say. But I thought that was an interesting idea. I mean, the other interesting idea was something that Ron said at the very end of the meeting, which was breaking up the facade with different colors, which might help with this project. But I don't know how we say this stuff in that. I'm just really struck by how really, really big this is going to be and how tall it is.
All right, downloading these pictures. Did you want to look at them? Were you talking about one of these?
Yep, that one is one of them. And the other one is in Plymouth, which would be towards the, yeah, keep going. There's one that has more where you can swear it's more visible. That one's sort of visible. Yeah, that's not it. Yeah, you can see the breezeway walkway there. And that's like if they don't, So actually, well, when you're done with that, but see, this is sort of an interesting concept because it suggests there's other than just this massive building, and the yellow is set farther back than the gray. And I guess the gray might be that boardwalk, a sort of boardwalk porch.
Right. I think the fact is they're trying to fit too much on this site and don't even have enough parking for it.
Well,
Right?
And-
that's pretty much what I think I'm saying. Not as
Yeah,
much.
And we heard from the public, was it Joan that said that she didn't want underground parking?
She was complaining about the underground parking. I'm not sure why, actually, because that's mostly for the residences. I don't think that's really for commercial.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought that was interesting. But she might have said it because she doesn't want this building to be so crammed up. And if they had less units, some of the, commercial parking could go underground, like the people who are working at the commercial. I know that the shadow study is off. They have to revise that and send it back.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no, they were way up. So 48 commercial spaces are required. But then they combine parking spaces required for the entire site, 106, and then, times 5.562625.
But see, they can send us this thing. It's GCG that made the comment about the parking in the peer review report. And the peer review reports are always fascinating because this guy might be off on his math on this presentation, and he might be doing something that he's not allowed to do. And the whole point of GCG is that they go through the bylaws and the rules that need to be applied to the project. And then if you want to do some fancy math and try to convince people that you're okay, great. I mean, I think it's insane that we have some of the parking requirements that we have are just too much.
But if you're a business, you're going to need parking. There's nowhere to really park that's close. So who opens a store there?
Exactly. And if those businesses, I mean, if it's a dance studio, which would be open mostly during the day, until they want to do a recital, and then I don't know what they do. People are parking across from 200 and walking down, or they're parking at that little lot, walking across, with those spaces will fill up. So then they're at the municipal lot and walking around and across. But he mentioned it. We can't really read that, Kev. That it's in the, I don't know, the first few pages. Excuse me, of that report, because I didn't get very far through it.
So they're saying a minimum of 72 parking spaces should be required.
Mm-hmm. I went, what?
And I think they're just talking about the commercial.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no. Nope. So that's commercial and residential together.
Okay.
But so the applicant is saying that they have 60, and so we're comparing 72 to 60. The report says that there should be 72, and the applicant currently has 60, and that's total residential and commercial.
Right. Well, if you look at this thing, it's like he's got it all covered. I don't know exactly what he's trying to do with this. I think a lot of times people look at this and go, oh, he's all set. Because he doesn't say he needs to have more or not. And the fire thing is not on this. It's its own single page document. The fire truck, if that's what you were looking for.
I wasn't looking for it yet, but yeah, it's
that doesn't, wait a second. If you go back right there, are those spaces numbered now?
They are, and this is how I counted 22.
Where's number 17?
Somebody was,
oh, that's the one I'm complaining about too then.
mm-hmm.
The fire access, because they have to go up and then over Gotta make a left to right. They gotta do a little, and with a fire truck, that's not gonna be, it's 40 feet long. It's not gonna be very pretty.
And they really only have 20 spaces because if this is loading for the commercial, they, that can't, these two spaces here can't be parking for the public.
Well, it actually says emergency vehicle parking because that's what the fire department wanted. And so he's gone back and forth on that. This is the latest thing he sent us. So part of the problem is where are vehicles going to offload? And so that's something that we definitely need to like put into the report and say where a vehicle's going to offload, because he's short spaces basically
Mhm.
right now. Because there'll be people, the residents will be getting, UPS, FedEx, and the other one, Amazon. They're all going to be coming there. Commercial will definitely have deliveries, depending on what they are. And they're either blocking Homer, which is probably, for the most part, well, actually, those vehicles, they might pull into the driveway. I don't even know what they're going to do. UPS, FedEx, all those guys, they might park in the handicap spaces if they're empty. That's my guess, is they'll do that. And that'll create a problem until somebody catches them at it. And in somewhere in here, I thought they actually were mentioning the turn that Mark DeSoni was talking about. And the fact that it's hard to see going in and out.
I was just driving this way the other day and a pedestrian was crossing the road and I could not see them crossing the road until I got very close to them. So I think it's a very good point that Mark made actually.
Yeah, I did too. And it was at this corner, right?
Yeah, the pedestrian was
Yeah.
I can't mark it. The pedestrian was crossing from the south side of Homer to the north side.
Right.
And I was going left to right on the plan.
Yeah, that's what I think the real danger is with that driveway being there. So, let's go back to our report because I think we have to start marking some stuff in here, or we'll be here all night again.
Well, for what, if we're talking about parking, I don't think we really touched on this too much.
Well, should we go through this right now
Mhm.
and then come back and add stuff in the areas?
Yeah, do that.
So,
So this item was originally about the projections of the building and organizing them in a more logical way. Having the commercial entrances in the recesses of the building and having the plaza spaces sort of working with a rhythm, a
yeah,
logical
and I
which
actually,
yeah.
I was gonna say, I thought they met that part
Did
already.
they?
It's still, well, I think so. I mean,
Not
you can
really.
you can
They
look
It's
at
still
the
a mess
drawing.
of walkways. Look at all the, wait, go.
Hang on a
there's
second.
a better plan. Hold on. This one.
Yeah. See, look at those two walkways that are surrounded by, yeah, right there. Oh, sorry, I'm pointing.
Tell him where to point.
Ah, God, I don't know. I think this is a mess of walkways and And that's gonna be a pain in the ass to maintain, and it's gonna look like, it's gonna look awful.
So there
Yeah.
was, there was a
And it-
discussion about raised planters being put in here
God,
to make it more,
can I share my screen?
yeah.
You want to just move this up or go? Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Brendan,
It's such an easy solution. I just,
wait a minute. I can't find you right now. I need to like, actually make you, oh, did you make him a co-host?
No.
disabled from screen sharing.
Yep. It's stupid, but sorry. This thing seems to have knocked me off here. Go back on. There we go. Brendan. Co-host. Yes. Well, I'm gonna make you a co-host too, so you don't feel left out here. There. Okay.
Um, uh, simple pathways just into the little coves, I think, and then widen the sidewalk so it relates to the building. You have a better streetscape, and maybe put benches out here. But it just seems like you could actually get some columnar trees to kind of work with each of the bump outs and scale, or kind of scale the building.
Well,
Rather than having like fitting two pathways between this entrance, I don't understand why you would do that.
there's two things here. One of which is we actually think the wires over there are really tall. Based
really?
on, yeah, based on the photo montage that he put with the actual the rendering, they look like they're 37, 40 feet. It's really interesting. And the pole is the one down here at the end, I'm pointing to at the Alden Street corner. And that in the photo montage jumps right out. And we had a good 5 or 10 minute discussion about it. So
Yeah.
he shows them as being as tall as that. So we were telling him to look for some cercis, because actually I don't like columnar trees because I think they look fake, and they're not going to provide that the sort of ambiance. But if they're that tall, then a cercis would fit nicely under there. He's got some
I'd
other.
go like a columnar tulip or like oak or maple or something that's going to get like 8 feet wide, but get some height to it. And then just
Well,
a simple planting bed and simple walkways. They're making it get way too complicated.
All right.
Especially because like, I don't know, there's nothing gracious about like.
Let's start with your first comment, which is about the sidewalk. And he's actually using the town sidewalk, which he is showing in here. And
You should like butt up to it with like pavers or do something nicer. It's just such a random kind of, it just seems a 5 foot wide sidewalk and then having 2 pathways into the store and one here, and like, where do you really go? But again, yeah.
I think the real problem here is this building is too large for this site. That's why I started talking about taking out units somewhere in here, because they actually need to push it back.
I don't think they can without losing all your underground parking, and maybe, I don't know.
Well, the parking could happen underneath because it's happening underneath over here, and they've got a split driveway walkway.
The streetscape just really bothers me, especially when it's unmaintained, and hydrangeas and just it's just too much. They're too complicated and too messy.
He took those out. He's got clutter in there now.
No, that's not as great either. But
so okay, but let's
but I'll stop sharing, but that's just where I'm trying to.
Well, but let's. I mean, I just think they're trying to cram too much on the site, period. That's part of the problem they're having. And I'm not sure that it's going to look great. The way it's presented right now, I'm certain that whatever he puts out front tree-wise isn't going to buffer enough the fact that this is a giant tall building, a giant mass of a building in this area, where right now there's only one end gable that you look at from Front Street, for instance, from the farmer's market. So as you're driving along here, instead of having that one house be that tall, you're gonna have the entire, well, it's like the entire block. You're gonna go from those one-story brick buildings to 3.5, basically. Or 4, because on his, on the civil drawing, it shows, Kevin. Or you
Civil
could look at it on this. Yeah, you could look at it on this. This is good if you blow that up, because I think this is sort
Well,
of,
I was pulling this up because I think these elevations are disingenuous, and they're saying that, it's a 3-story building and it matches the streetscape.
No.
But to your point, Kathy, it's just, these might some of these might be multifamily houses. I don't know, but they're not not the entire block.
right. And
Yeah,
that's the
it is
only-
multifamily.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. The one on the corner is multifamily
Mhm.
for sure.
still-
And that's the
still-
one that's here, I think.
but it's still a singular
Yeah.
building, single building, single building, single building.
Exactly. And
and
all
where-
this,
Where is this project in this view, actually? Oh, here. And it's not going to be that small.
No, it's not gonna be, no, that's disingenuous.
that was
But-
the thing
Am I
that,
the only one who thinks we could like save it and make it look nice, or?
well, I think it needs to be smaller, but yeah. I mean, if he
I mean,
knocked out units on the left and the right on the ends and shoved the whole thing back, they'd have almost no patio space upstairs. You'd have to do some other amenity thing up there because it would be almost ridiculous how small that space would be up there.
The space is really a leftover space. It's not designed well.
No.
The intent is not to have a green roof. It's because that's just the space that was left over.
just left over.
Right. So,
I don't know.
I mean,
Part of me
I
thinks that
thought,
brick building's awful too.
yeah, it's gonna be a massive when you walk on, if you stand at the, the walkway, the Homer Ave walkway. It's gonna be like straight wall. You're gonna face a straight wall up.
Mm.
right. Which I think is going to be really, I mean, the real issue right now is nobody's planning on people walking down here, even though they talk about it being walkable and bikeable. It's all about cars. And I was thinking, how could this be better? Could we say to them, you can only do this if you're going to landscape the Richardson building to the left, do some more stuff in that parking lot to make it more welcoming and hospitable. And the town's literally put vehicles and construction stuff all over the trees in there. So I don't even know whose trees those are right now, if that belong to the Richardson parking lot or to the town. And he's gonna own maybe to Alden Street, the Richardson building guy. I don't even think he owns that far before it becomes, I think, railroad right-of-way land, which is totally unmaintained. And so, so then the next thing would be to get him to do some landscaping across the railroad tracks on Front Street, because there's a whole bunch of invasive ailanthus trees over there, the tree of heaven, which is a vector plant for spotted lanternfly, oh goody, right along the railroad tracks, which is how they got in here in the first place. And those, if better trees were put in on our side of the tracks, it would be nice, we have to get the DPW to agree to plow in there better and not stack snow against the trees. That's part of the reason they're in such bad shape, but there's definitely other things we could do over there. But even so, that streetscape it's going to become a little, it's going to become partially a wind tunnel, I think, because they're next going to go after this corner going towards Main Street. I think. I don't think that's going to be there that long. I think they're just amassing enough money to figure out how to get around historic. Or they're going to try to offer the guy next door in the back, Warren, a chunk of change for his building, and he's totally ignoring people right now. as far as I know. Because there's no other place he could really move and be able to do his business in town and keep all his stuff out in the back. That's why he's staying there.
Which property is that?
It's the one right to the back, Power Tune. So it's the flat black roof just to the back. Yep, that one.
Are the property setbacks the reason why the building is out at the face of the street and not inverted where, well, it's probably this the downtown district zoning, right? That requires the building to be not more than a certain number of feet from the street. I'm just thinking out loud.
Not more than a certain number of feet?
What's that?
Not more than a certain number of feet?
Well, the downtown district, isn't that the building should be at the street frontage?
Yes. But typically in like
Well,
downtown planning, it's building at the street edge and you hide the parking.
Right.
They had zero setback from the front. And then they changed it to 8 to 15 feet. But I didn't think that was a requirement. I thought that was you had to have it set back at least that far, because that's what they did with the Trask building downtown, which is a bagel table building. And the problem really is when you look at our downtown is anything that's in old housing, the residential is 30-foot setback. So people look at that and they think it looks reasonable and nice for a setback, and they think that's what should be happening.
But is that the grandfathered dimension?
Well, it's overlay zoning. So if you're keeping the house, if you're going to go, there's like a couple of dentists in houses. There's actually quite a few. And if you were going to, you bought that house from the dentist because the dentist was selling or moving to, some plaza somewhere, and you wanted to bring your family up there, your house would be fine. It'd still be at 30 feet back from the street. And if you had, let's say you're a lawyer with a business, but it's, the front room of your house might be your business and the rest of it would be housing for your family. That's actually originally what people used to do. Or the family would live upstairs. So you could look at the pizza place, I can't believe I'm forgetting the name of it, that's over there right next to the town hall, Nick's. I think it's Nick's. If you stand back, you can see the house behind it, or maybe it's the next one of the other businesses down the street. But that was what they did. They would do their business in the downstairs of the house, and eventually when they got wealthy enough, they'd build it out to the street so they have extra room to expand. Blah blah blah. So that's partly what the conflict is when people look at our downtown and then they look at what's being allowed. They don't understand the zoning. So the real question in part is, can we get him to push it back, or if he changes the facade colors and materials, will that make it look less bulky and massive?
Well, yeah, we've yet to have that conversation or seen renderings that show
Generally,
it.
the further back it is, the more you see it. If it's closer to you, you're not looking up.
Well, okay. I'm still not going to suggest that that's a good idea to have it this close. I mean, that's what I think trees would do, right? They would hide it enough or take the onus off the giant facade.
Can they put the telephone lines underground?
They do it just up to the corner of this development.
Can the development continue it underground?
Well, we could ask them to.
So we can ask for street trees?
You're gonna tell us to go pound sand, I can tell you that right now.
I mean, you know,
Well,
you
if
see
they're
the
seeking a
elevation,
massive site plan approval, it
Well,
might be,
maybe. I mean, that might be another way to make it look a lot better.
like, we need street trees, and we can't do that because we have the telephone pole, so.
yeah.
Okay.
And my concern was, you know, I raised it like those utility poles. Those are so close to the building, and you know, I'm not sure whether they didn't show any street lighting. So those poles along with the street light, and I don't know how close it's going to be from the windows.
That's actually something
especially-
we need to put on our report, because you brought up a really good point. And none of us knew the answer to that. We think the pole on the corner of Alden is the one that has the lights on it, but even so, whatever unit's over there is gonna get blasted with light. I don't know, Brendan, that's actually a good idea. Maybe we should ask. That should be part of the ask, put the utilities underground,
Make the streetscape better.
right? Because then you're right, they could put the trees out where they've got the poles right now. And we wouldn't have to think about the poles anymore. Except at some point, we'd end up with a pole at the corner, I think, because the wiring is on.
You'd
Is-
have a pole on the Alden Street corner.
They're not going to pay for it to go underground across the street. That would have to be something that would have to get worked out. And I don't know how much that is.
I don't know either.
I'm admitting a member of the public.
I imagine you need some sort of like transformer or some sort of cabinet to kind of transition.
Right, but they have to get the wires down to it, so it would end up, the cabinet would either end up going on the gas station corner, which is already pretty ugly with a fire hydrant there, and packed. Or I guess it would go, on the outside edge of Alden,
Yeah,
or the town would have to. I mean, the town apparently is doing some of that work downtown anyway. I don't know how much they are. Not sure Doug Small would take kindly to having to do the, cross Alden Street and then figure out where to put the utility box over there. Plus, it would have to get coordinated with Eversource, which will be a chore in and of itself. But it's a good thought. I mean, we could put it in there and make them say, forget it, or realize, that we're actually saying the front of the building is too small. The
yeah.
streetscape to the front is too small, because I think it's too small. That's why I keep saying let's move it back. If they weren't going to do that open patio on the second floor, would there be something different? Would that be like an interior space that they'd offer to people, or would it just be an outside space that wouldn't be accessible where they do a green roof, period, in there? A little green roof. So it's reasonable for people to look at.
You're asking about the second floor?
Yeah, if we were to get rid of the side units on the left and the right of that building, let's say, so he's lost 4 units, or he's dropped 2 of them to like 1 bedroom instead of 2 bedrooms, so there's less square footage.
Mhm.
And he's gonna lose those little spaces. I'm not even sure how he would do that. He's losing common space on
So Kathy, that was the existing photograph, right? The elevation. So in that, it's just 2 levels, level 1 and like 2 floors, whereas this is going to be 3 floor.
exactly.
So if it is 3 floor, that poles are going to be right at the second window.
Well, if you look at that one corner picture, where is
Right.
that?
Yeah. Here they are showing the building smaller than the utility pole. But if you see the existing photograph that you had just on display
Well, that one.
here. So here if you see 1, 2, and the third floor, it will be at the, their proposed building will be a little higher than this one.
Right.
Or
What's
the wires are not rendered correctly.
But this one is existing. Yeah, this one is not rendered correctly.
Yeah.
Here the poles are they've shown it
Oh,
higher.
I see what you're saying. They should be shorter. 'Cause
Yes,
they're
they should be
actually
shorter. They
slightly
should be
shorter.
they will be exactly at the window level, if you see,
Yeah.
somewhat near the window level.
All
I
right.
don't think this is rendered with the thought of the telephone poles. So the
It
building
needs to be.
is scale, but
No,
it's
I think they're trying to scale down the building. So
That's
No,
the
I'm
height.
sure the guy just probably just bumped up the telephone like pole height. They're not trying to scale it down.
Yeah.
Because it's gonna look awful if the telephone poles are below the.
Well, okay, so where's the other photograph that shows the corner? It shows this view in a photograph, Kevin.
in the photograph.
No, it's the other end.
I think it was only this one.
Wait,
It's there.
It's
And
at
the
the
same one at
bottom.
the top. The
It's
top.
at the,
was this
It's at the
emailed
top.
or uploaded?
what's that? Was that a photograph of it? The original photograph up above there?
Yes. Right. So they actually removed the telephone poles from this view.
Yeah.
They used their model. This is not the
Yes.
existing pole.
If you go back to one of the first things they show, where the photographs are in a skinny banner at the bottom.
In this drawing. Oh yeah.
Yeah. See,
I don't like the way that this was done. We're struggling to understand it, which means it wasn't done professionally or appropriately.
right. Can you go down one more?
In the next
Oh,
page,
we actually saw it right in this. Whoops.
where do you want me to be?
You
Page
were down at the one you just had up. That one. Isn't it in this? And this we don't really have.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, but this is not the size of this
It's not
project.
the context. Yeah.
yeah, that is like
Okay.
70% of what it really is.
Okay. So I think in the first thing, the architectural stuff, right? We need to put this stuff in that he needs to fix the renderings and the photos so they're accurate. They're more accurate than they are now, much more accurate. Because we can't see the mass and scale of the building, and we can't see where those poles are going to be. And that's where we put in our comment about take the poles underground, because they're up there because they don't look right if he puts them down by the peaks. What do you think?
Say the last thing again.
Understanding the mass and scale, the essentially the renderings don't look like what we think the project is going to look like, with the poles, the lack of room for street trees, the lack of adequate space for the poles vis-a-vis the building, street trees to fit in here, and to make a nice, comfortable space, nice comfortable spaces out in front of the building in commercial spaces. We could call it a streetscape, a nice comfortable streetscape, because it's not going to be slightly more comfortable, but not much more than what we have over at the bagel table building, where there's nothing in front. So what he was trying to do here, Brendan, because he said this at the meeting, was he's trying to make comfortable little spaces out there so you could sit outside and have coffee, whereas he didn't think that that was possible at the bagel table, which I totally agree. Because I spent, I guess it was part of the pandemic, and I was trying to meet with people out there, but it wasn't comfortable to sit out there. Because there's cars going by, there's no there were no umbrellas, there's no canopy of any kind, there are no trees. I have a couple trees out there. One of them they ran over right away when they first put it in, so they never replaced it.
No.
Yeah, so that setback there is 8 feet. And when you go to the gray building, it's 15 feet, the setback.
8 to 15?
Yes, and that's how they came up with the bylaw. Because everybody's like, yeah, that's fine. And it's not really fine because there's not enough room.
Well, I think, sorry to interrupt you, but I was looking at the bylaws, and I think the 8 and 15 is actually a minimum and maximum. It's
you don't want it to be too far set back. You just if you go to like any successful downtown, there's not a lot of feet. Like look at like Wellesley downtown. Like there's not a lot of sidewalk. There's enough for like the tables. I don't mind this.
All right, so show the pictures of Falmouth, would you? Because I was trying to figure out today. That's Plymouth actually, and that might be keep going back more. Sorry, that's Falmouth, and the next one back, the first one, that one is Falmouth.
Okay, I've walked that.
What do you think that is? Because that looks to me like it's at least 15.
They just,
and so,
it's almost like, I mean, you look at that Mexican restaurant, they have like the seating. That's kind of like their alcove, and the sidewalk itself that's about like 10 feet or 15 feet max. But if you go down further down the street in Falmouth downtown, the buildings aren't this far back. This is like the anomaly.
Well, they've got 3 or 4 different pictures there. So this might be the only strip that's the anomaly, because I haven't been there in a while. I was there in the winter, so it definitely didn't look as floriferous as this does. What's the next one, Kev? After this? That one. Nope. The next one after that. Yeah. Yeah, maybe that's what they did here. There's actually enough room, enough length in this planter, by the way. So that was a dead street tree, I think, that's in there. And there's a shrub and flowers in there, which I thought was really interesting. So I guess, if they went back another 5 feet, let's say we got another 5 feet, because we're all talking about how massive the building is. That would give them space to have a little more latitude on the sidewalk, and you could have raised planters, you could have street trees, blah 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 blah. And maybe we could do some of the things. If I ever send the drawings of the planters to people, or maybe not, maybe I need to do that too. I think they're sitting in my drive here. I think we're looking for some buffering ideas and some seating out there.
You would have all that if you lost that massive landscape bed. That's a complete mess.
How many feet back do you think that is? what he's showing in that.
I mean, they're showing like a 4 to 5 foot wide sidewalk and then landscaping up to the building. And I'm
Right,
not
but
sure
what
how
do
far
you
the
think
building set back.
what do you
I
think?
think it was at its narrowest is 8 feet.
Right. There's very little at the narrowest. And one of those, I think the GCG
I
guy, by the
think
way,
the
complained.
sidewalk for the side, you can get like a 5 foot wide planting bed, which is all you really need, like that condition, and then you keep a straight sidewalk, and then you have room for planters and benches, and have the sidewalk relate to the building, and then that makes the planting beds relate to the building, and then it all starts to see. This just seems like they just like slapped the building down on a sidewalk and just like put landscape right up to it. There's no like.
Oh, this
There's
actually
nothing intentional about this. It just seems like just just a mess.
is this is actually the street sidewalk, is that correct? That we're seeing right here?
It's gonna be destroyed anyway, so you might as well just
Well, wait a
take it
second.
out and put-
I, it's actually a really good point because this looks like it's his sidewalk when in fact it's the street sidewalk and it needs to be labeled as Town of Ashland sidewalk. Because
Right.
that's part of the confusion here perhaps too.
That's not being replaced with the downtown improvements. So why are we keeping like the existing sidewalk when it's probably gonna be trampled with construction?
Well, he may the real question is how far into the street can he go? I think that's the street curves there.
I
If you
think last time he had said, right, the existing building. Remember at the site visit, we told him that it looks less than 4, I think 4 feet it was, less than 4 feet. So one of the corners, so he said it's existing, so he can by law go up till that, but he's not.
he's doing a complete renovation of this site. If he was doing a repair or keeping that building and adding on to it, that would make
Mhm.
sense to me.
Yes.
But I can't see how he can do an as of
If you
right.
go on uh, the layout plan where the old buildings are superimposed on this, you can see how close it is.
It's that one on the corner, right? On Alden
Yes,
Street. Yeah, and I
this is
think
the one.
I
But
actually
he's going, if you see, he's comparing this building. Yeah, this too.
or is it the
It
35?
was the alternate, the corner one.
Okay, because 35 looks like it's pretty close. And that's pretty close.
So this is an 8 foot box, so this complies with the 8 foot minimum setback.
Mhm.
I have concerns about this location.
Uh-huh.
That's less than 8 feet.
I think actually that GCG does too, because they talk about one of them being less than what it's supposed to be.
Do we need to comment on parking and all the other topics that GCG has reviewed? I mean, they're saying in their report that the parking is lacking. So to what extent do we need to comment on it and use numbers and do calculations?
I don't
I'm not,
think we need
I don't
to
think we need to comment on it.
yeah.
we can either say we're agreeing with that, or we can also say that, like the GCG report, we think there's too much going on in the site and there's not enough room for everything. Because
I
that's
think
what
we can also suggest is, the planning board should uh on site, like I think like how Kevin said that square is 8 feet, but I think when we were on the site, it seemed less than the existing building was less than 8 feet. It was just 4 feet.
well,
So
that's
here they're showing 8 feet, but in reality, I don't think so. It's 8 feet also, the existing, the corner building that the red box is, right? The Kevin's red box. So if that
yeah.
box is 8 feet, I don't think so that existing building is 8 feet.
So either this composite overlay is wrong, or
The existing, maybe the walkway is little, I mean, we don't know the border, the boundary. Yeah. See
So
this one.
which one are you talking about? The one on the corner
Not,
here?
I think not this one. This is the one. Go on this side.
Yeah,
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
the one that
that
they
might
were
be.
On the Alden side. See if you does it look like 8 feet?
Yeah,
7 feet?
I think it does. I think it
What
does.
about at the
Yes.
front there?
I don't think it's 4 feet. I think it's I don't know, 6 feet maybe.
6 feet.
Right.
Okay.
And that's what I think the GCG report was referring to.
But it could be 8 feet. I'm just eyeballing it. But
Yeah.
why don't we?
I don't know whether it was this building or the other one. Maybe it could be the other one.
It might be
Well,
this.
Yeah, the other one. Yeah, this one. Hmm.
That's definitely
Yeah,
4 feet.
this is the one. Sorry, this is the one.
yeah, that's really close. Well, the stairs are close, but what about in the porch? Maybe the porch was an add-on after the fact. And do you
So
think
the
you
porch, if it is 3 feet, right, and then 3 feet in the grass, so that's 6 feet. Looks like 6 to 7.
yeah. So
I think this one might be a moot point because their setback is actually more than that at that location. Right. They're pushing the building back further. They have more than they probably have.
Yes, at least, yeah. I mean, it's by just 1 feet possibly, but I mean, I'm not sure. Maybe, unless you see it in reality, like actual site measurements.
there's a little there's a little inset on the Alden Street side of that bill of the 4749, but on the Homer Street they haven't inset it at that corner. So that's in the front. That's potentially tight, but I think your square would fit around that corner. But where it doesn't really fit is over here on the commercial side. And that whole area doesn't fit. That part has to go back, I think.
Yes.
So okay, so it's now 8:20, 8:17 maybe. We should start writing stuff on the report. So I think we need to specifically comment on this, your square up here on a commercial. And with additional sort of comment that they need to double check to make sure the building's set back at least to the minimal code. And I don't know about the rest of you, but I feel like the building it's just too massive for the site.
Well, I don't know what's going to happen with the parking piece. Like if the project can't be as of right if they're not providing enough parking, and if the project goes through
Right.
because fewer parking spaces are just approved. I don't know what we're doing.
Well,
Project.
I think we say something to that effect, right? That we think I mean, I really think it comes down to partly what Brendan was saying, and there's too much going on. They can't fit it adequately on the site. And challenge them to do something different. And they're going to be annoyed by the comment, but because they're into this far, and we should have been seen by them long before this. And so that's actually partly another reason why I just said we're going to have a meeting on Thursday with planning board when they wanted to have a meeting with us, because I think they're having trouble with this building too.
what do we recommend that just this portion of the building be
At least,
be rethought, redesigned.
at least.
What did I say? Should be.
Well, okay, so what does everybody else think? Do they want the building set back or not? Set back more?
I think it could, at least it should at least meet the zoning standard.
Well, theoretically, it's meeting the zoning standard. Kev, what about you? Jwala, what about you?
Is it meeting the zoning
No,
standard?
because Kevin said it's under 8 feet.
On the commercial,
Over 8 feet.
that little commercial area on the left there,
Yeah.
near the driveway, it's definitely not meeting it. So at a minimum, we think it should meet the commercial. The commercial, it needs to meet the zoning on the commercial side there.
Mhm.
Or are we going to gain anything by setting it back? That's what I'm asking.
I think there are large fundamental issues with the project, but we also have to go line item by line item, reviewing, the project in detail. But are you saying we shouldn't address small items like that if there's a larger issue at hand?
Oh, I think we address them both.
Yeah.
That's why I'm bringing it up now, because it seems like this might be the place to bring it up. Maybe there's a better place for it. Because, I mean, we sort of addressed it there. So they
Well, I'd recommend leaving it here and then just so we have it written down and then we keep going through the report. So just because we need to make progress.
Yeah. We're not very far. Okay, so let's keep going then.
Okay. I wrote this item. Are we fine with this one?
Should we say inadequate or should it be misleading? Because I feel like they're providing the right level of detail with the SketchUp model, but they're underestimating the scale of it, and I think it's intentional. It doesn't seem like it's
No, I think misleading is a better word, and but I think their method of creating these renderings is could use some improvement as well.
And we could also in this line item bring up that it doesn't look right. Their rendering of the building doesn't look right against the photographs that show the brick buildings farther down the street.
Yeah, it's just
because it looks we were getting that comment at the last meeting, so it looks sunken.
Yeah, I completely agreed with what George was bringing up in that meeting.
Yeah, so I think we need to say that there.
Yep. So I was looking at the page. So on page 6 of the 8.3.
it's a shame because it could be a cool project, but they just don't really have the professionals to kind of execute it.
Building looks sunken into the street compared to the photographs of the 3 one-story brick buildings just past it, going towards Main Street.
I'll just say west of the project site.
Okay, there you go.
Unfortunately, I think we're going to keep asking for these things, and we're not going to see an improvement on the quality. I think that's the fact of the matter. But we should keep asking. Should we have an item here in red.
Sure.
That take greater care in um
Providing exact details.
well, I'm trying to say something about scale in achieving um an accurate
Representation.
representation exactly of the scale.
I think that's fair.
Okay. Shall I move on to the next item?
I think
Oh,
so.
let me put this in red. Okay, materials and textures. We had asked for a material palette to be presented by the applicant, which they did. And maybe I think on this one, we just need to note what we requested.
Yes.
Was it 4? I think it was 4 material palette options.
Yeah, and it's not, hang on, I'll tell you, it's not number 1. I think we took number 1 out. It's either number 1 or number 5 out.
We took number 5 out. So, Kathy, did you add my notes into yours?
Not really. What I did was look at them and said, oh, I think I've got these covered here. Sorry.
Mhm.
Um,
I'd like to use my notes for this one because
it's fine with me if you think you've got it worded better.
we're selected by the community to work with. Yeah, we did not select 5 though. Actually, we should take that out.
Take that out of which? The note, my notes?
Out of your notes.
I thought we took out, um,
Can I?
I thought we took out number 1 because it had, which was the one that had all the modern stuff that I think we had them take out? Is that number 1 or is that number 5?
It was number 5.
Okay, so what, where are you here? On the notes, just, where are you?
Right here.
After lead? I'll fix it on this. Materials. So it's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Oops. Are we sure about this?
Oh, actually, we can just look at them.
Okay, let's look at it.
I think their numbering was a little bit strange. So
Where's the first one?
1, 2, 3. Oh, so it's actually type 4. It was 5 in the previous iteration. Let's just say the one without the metal panel. Or the one with the metal panel that we should be removing.
All right, so let's see.
It's 1, 2, and 3. We want them to work up in renderings, and it's 4.
I'm just gonna say 4 were selected. Moving the option of the metal panel cladding. Okay, I got that. So you don't have to put that in. I took the numbers out. I just said take out the one with the metal cladding so we don't have any confusion between versions of sent over.
What do you want me to
All right,
do?
I have it. Don't worry about
You're
correcting
working on
it.
it. Okay.
Yeah, I got that. It's more what we got to do for the report that I'm
Yeah. So,
concerned about right now.
right. So the applicant presented four material palette options. So we asked them to provide renderings.
Yeah, yeah, I would say take type 4 out. Don't put a number on it, because if somebody gets mixed up between because they numbered them differently between their
I know.
versions.
So that's why I said the option showing the metal panel cladding was not selected, type 4.
Yeah, well, okay. I'd just take type 4 out altogether. It's not necessary.
This should be see above, really.
Well, the date on that is, whoops.
What's that?
What did you just do with? Didn't we, wait a second, didn't we answered that up above?
Yeah, so
I don't think we need to.
you don't want to say see above
No.
or okay.
No, I want to take it out. I want to actually take it out because I don't want, the more stuff we have in here, the more confusing it's going to be.
I'm just gonna make that
Sure.
black. Renderings of the building, windows and storefronts should show an accurate representation of the intended tone color of the glazing. We didn't actually talk about this with the applicant.
It's still true. We should still leave it in there.
Yeah, I'll just
Eventually, they're going to show us. You could say not discussed.
okay.
Okay, so on solar panels were not discussed. Underneath that one, we can say that the applicant's going back to look at, to review solar panels in as many areas of the site as possible. Including parking canopies.
And all faces of the roof. I think they wanted to look at providing solar panels on the surfaces of the roof that face in a direction that wasn't desirable by the planning board.
Yeah, I think all roof faces, whatever that terminology would be.
all roof orientations, I think.
Okay. That one, EV charging, applicant said they were going to, applicant said they were going to make every single space EV ready, inside and out. And that actually was per GCG.
Yeah, I'm not clear on how many are going to be provided with an EV charging station. They were saying that there was going to be a conduit stubbed up
That's called EV ready.
Yeah, not right.
And
So,
then
but
we,
how many actual stations are they providing?
well,
Do
I
we know?
think we further, after you write that in, we further say that we asked them to be specific about how many actual stations they were providing. Because at one point they said none, and we didn't seem to indicate to them that that was very acceptable. So what do you think? Are you putting that in there?
Oh, so say that again.
So EV charging at this meeting, so I think in between after C.2, the June 15th comment, we should put in something for August 3rd.
Yeah, so I've done that. Oh, I'm sorry.
Might be in the wrong place because I'm looking for it.
My screen was paused. So here you go. Here's what I wrote.
Oh, great. Okay.
Okay.
That's great. That's perfect.
Okay. So
Unless anybody else has something else to add here.
is that on their little cheat sheet here?
Oh,
No, I don't think I've seen it anywhere.
no, because they would have put it on there if it was. So it makes them look good.
EV ready.
Oh, he shows it on those.
I think they're planning on just making everything EV ready and not actually providing any stations.
Well, that's what he said. So I think we put that other ask in there because we talked about it.
Mhm.
A and B, it's a trade-off, perhaps.
Yeah.
So Brendan, just to make you even happier, we talked about bike racks going out on that front sidewalk somewhere. And I told them about bike rack benches, by the way.
I don't know where you're gonna put them.
Well, the bike they I want to say I think it's Foundry actually has the site furniture where they show bike racks with they show benches, excuse me, with something that you can attach a bike to, and they call them bike rack.
Okay.
And I thought that was very interesting because basically you're getting two things for the price of one. A little higher price, but it was an interesting concept. And I don't know either. I mean, I think this has to be redone in some respects, but it's a good start. I mean, I also talked to them about the fact they need to protect the windows better.
I don't know. With those have to be a foot off the curb, and then you want to have a 5-foot walk, so there's not a lot of room.
Yeah, I don't think the benches should go there.
Oh no, I was talking about bike rack.
They have to be there, or you're saying they could go farther back?
I mean, well, you want them. It's like a bollard with the bike rack. Is that what you're saying?
Well, because a bunch of things came up at that point, because they were also talking about doing some more raised court and steel planters out front there. And then somebody else brought up the lack of space, blah blah blah. But that way also, slow down a car that's out of control, that's headed towards the building.
I'm against bollards.
Bollards themselves, yeah, they're ugly.
No, I'm just saying bollards, and I don't think cars are careening down Homer Ave and crashing into buildings too often.
Well, I don't think anybody thinks anything's careening too often until it happens to them.
Yeah, no.
So, it's better to, in some cases, It's better to think about some of this stuff and just say, okay, let's put something up here that looks decent that would serve the same purpose. And maybe that's part of the redesign of this area is something like that happens.
We have the telephone poles, Kathy, so.
Well, they're a start until we tell them they have to put them underground. And they put
Okay,
them
that's,
underground.
okay. Now we're
Yeah.
talking.
And there's only 3 of them out there, so there's a lot of space in between, just saying, Brendan. And the same is gonna be true up at the mill buildings, you know.
I like bollards when they like, I don't think we need bollards to stop cars from crashing into buildings, but I think that they're very important for pedestrian safety.
Right.
I'm not.
Well, there's a whole bunch of ways we can do this.
Mhm.
So,
Although I don't even understand why they're cordon steel planters. That seems very odd for this.
well, at 18 inches, that would help. And that would, you know, between the soil and the water and the soil and the plantings, that would start to make them be heavy. Okay, where are we at here, Kevin?
C.3 about stormwater. I don't remember why I wrote it this way, but peer review response. I think there was a question about how the stormwater recharge works on site, and it was noted that it goes from the parking lot to the catch basin and discharges into the subsurface infiltration structure.
I think just leave it the way it is right now.
Are there several plans available?
Well, GCG raises it in their peer review, and I don't know that they've provided new ones yet. And they talk about the fact that a
I
couple of
haven't seen a survey or any kind of actual technical drawing besides these 11 by 17s.
So the applicant considers themselves in feasibility study right now. They're
Okay.
they're not even in schematic.
Okay, sorry.
oh, well, GCG commented that a couple of them were too low based on whatever they saw with whatever they provided, and that they weren't going to be working correctly. So I wouldn't even address it. I think we should just move on.
Okay.
We can't, GCG is probably going to do the stormwater. There's another group they use all the time for stormwater.
There's a drainage calculation and stormwater management plan that was reviewed by GCG, and that's probably in the current cases
Okay,
website.
Older, because that says April 22nd.
all right. I'll dig it up.
I think we
I
just
think
leave.
the action here is that the report will be submitted to the town for review.
Yeah. As long as someone's looking at it.
Yeah. I think I wanted to add something to the materials. Oh, I thought we could add it under his, okay. So his heritage and historic details. I think we should say something about the conversation that Joan brought up about providing a village feel, like differentiating the materials and breaking.
Joan is trying to enter the room.
Oh, geez. Thank you. Hi, Joan. Okay, so yes.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you. How you doing?
Great. Your
Perfect
timing is
timing.
impeccable, actually. We're
Yeah,
just talking about the comment you made about the village feel. We're trying to insert it in here.
Okay, nice.
should we mention Joan by name or say it?
No, just say we got a comment about it.
Um,
I'm just fixing the minutes to better reflect that, actually. And breaking up the building
Mhm.
up on
Add to the character of the downtown.
yeah, so the actual comment was would like to see separate buildings and 2 buildings on site to create a more village feel to the project.
Mhm.
And we could potentially put that in there and see how far we get. Or we could say character if you don't like the feel term.
Village. Mhm.
Okay, that's good.
Okay, so going back up to the D.1, we didn't actually talk about the historic ornament, and maybe we don't mention anything here. I think we'll review that in the next meeting. We'll keep it on here, and report number 3 would probably touch on this.
Sure. Yeah, because that wasn't shown very well either, even if they were doing something with making the sidewalk all look like the siding on the Richardson building.
Looking like it did they show something like that?
Well, they said we can't show no, and well, the answer is sort of for the little tiny pocket park when they showed it. Yeah, that thing. Right there. Park walkway paving pattern. But he hasn't actually said what that is because he's still actually researching it because there is no paving pattern like that because it would have bumps in it and nobody wants that on a walkway like this. It wouldn't be allowed. You could do it at your private house probably, but
Well, I
at,
took that as just the pattern, this like ashlar pattern would
right.
be.
And that's what I think he's talking about.
Yeah, I actually take issue with this because none of Richardson's buildings take the pattern on the wall, which is intended to be on the wall, and put it on the horizontal surface. And so why should
You didn't say anything about that last night, and I kind of wish you had. Um, so you
mull it
want
over? I had to
you
mull
want to
that one
say
over,
you want to say it now
but we should say it now.
in the report
Yes.
upon further discussion,
Yeah.
perhaps?
We'll say that, but so we're on the ornament right now. So what do we want to say about the ornamentation?
Oh, we don't have anything to say about the ornamentation.
Okay.
I mean,
So
I
we'll
don't
leave
think so
it
right
in.
now.
Yeah. So I'll add this as 2-D.2. Um, so it was presented that the stone pattern
Template.
well, yeah, I guess as as the basis.
There you go. He actually said he was going to carry it over to all of the patio, by the way, not just the pocket park.
Okay, and would be carried across the commercial plaza spaces.
Sure.
Uh, um,
Well, does it never repeat?
are never found on the horizontal walking surface.
They found on any horizontal surfaces?
Um,
No.
I think around his buildings, they're typically so like Copley Plaza in Boston is a brick plaza. It's just modular brick.
Right.
And maybe we can't say never because it's a pattern, like an ashlar pattern can be found in the landscape, but um I don't think I think it's disingenuous to say that the Pocket Park Plaza surface references back to the wall of the historic Richardson building. I don't think that's historically accurate if we're trying to relate back to it. And
Well, yes, there's a planning board's been repeatedly asking for something from the Richardson building to be carried over to the site.
well, let's look at what that might be.
I don't honestly think there is unless we take that corner of the Richardson building that I was talking to you about a long time ago, right? Whoops, go back on the corner of it, Kev. The front corner, the other corner, sorry, where we can see it better as you're going down the street.
Here.
Yeah, okay, so see how you can see those arches there?
Mhm.
The only thing I was thinking of would be if they had some kind of a pergola over the pocket park and some kind of pergola in front of over the windows, the ground floor windows that mimicked that particular arch patterning.
The problem is that it's just the
Are we
building-
really trying to mimic this building?
Well,
I mean,
someone in
it's
the planning
it's
board
gonna
keeps-
look like
let me just finish, okay? Somebody in the
Okay.
planning board keeps asking for it. So I literally was, you know, that we've had these discussions again and again on our committee, and I've been sort of banging my head about it. Like, is there any possibility of anything we could do? And short of using those colors that appear on the facade, that sort of mahogany red and the color of the,
if anything, it's probably use the roof line as part of that pergola that's somewhere that's on the Alden Street side.
yeah, but you've lost the connection at that point. You're way on the back. I think their intention was to have it on the front.
I,
I don't think that would make.
I don't think it's the development to copy the Richardson building. It's kind of a
So so let me ask it this way. Are there any elements of this building that we think could be successfully transferred over? So potentially the facade colors into like patio paving.
Can I
maybe
just ask why? Sorry to interrupt you. No, to answer your question, I don't think there's anything. I think we let the historic building be the historic building. I don't know why the planning board is caught up on having elements of a historic building replicated. You can relate to a building but typically you do that in a modern way so that the historic building is, stays
So-
what it is and can be.
Then let's go back. Then
It's a
let's
completely
say
different use too.
in retrospect, let's not try to match anything on it. I'll leave it at that. In our comments to them, so they stop looking for this walkway paving pattern and they do something else.
Put a mural on the brick building.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Oh, well, he's got big plans for that brick building, by the way. He's gonna take all that stuff down and he wants to put windows in it and he wants to put a doorway in it because he wants the tenants next door, when they eventually develop that building, to be able to also access the front of this building.
Yeah,
the
I mean,
way-
I think, to further the statement I was making, I think the answer is no, that we can't relate to it because of just the building scale. Like, how are you going to put a pergola
know.
on the side of this building and have a roof form that is taller than the building itself as
So-
it is?
So take it all out. Let's go back to the so, and just say after you wrote that, right, after the word surface, just say in retrospect, we just feel it's impossible to match the Richardson building in any
Meaningful way.
shape and form, any meaningful way. There you go.
Mhm. So I suppose it's possible, but maybe it's not, what's the word? Like, it's not the right thing to do. It's,
Well, with the current scale of this building, it's not, if this building was a one-story building, we could say, hey, put the roof over there, da da da, have that overhang. There would be a lot of things they could do, but it's not really possible to do it the way that the scale of this project. And otherwise, all the other little parks are too small. And, as you just pointed out, against a one-story brick building, there's nothing you can do there. It would look totally out of character on the back.
well, can I say, sort of, we advise that the historic building be allowed to
Standalone?
stand alone. Mhm.
Yeah.
Sure. I think that would be helpful.
I love the mural idea, actually.
I'm just half joking.
So,
I
well,
do. It's much more community focused and modern, and could be vibrant.
so make another D3.
Oh no.
Well,
Murals
Brendan,
everywhere.
you opened this.
Starbucks
You
everywhere.
opened that door. But actually, it's not such a bad idea because it's stucco right now. And they stuccoed it probably because the brick needed repointing. So that seemed to be the simpler thing to do. That's my guess. And we could just say,
Can we get like another southwestern sunset with mountains?
you don't like that? I think it needs to be changed up a
I
little
mean,
bit.
that's the the
It actually used to be
image that
something
comes to
else.
mind when I think of Ashland.
I think it used to be something else, actually.
um, mutual.
Mutual mural.
I don't know. Wait, so painted on the existing stucco wall of what is that address? I don't know.
It's 9, 9, 11, and 13, I think. So I remember having this whole discussion with them that day we did the site walk. And I'm not, one of those buildings has it on the front. Oh, 15, there you go.
If that's 15, then how is this project 9 to 49?
Because that entire lot, which includes those 3 buildings, number 9, this is where they're only developing that part, which I don't know why it's 9-49. That's also misleading.
Mhm.
Should we take the word painted out there? Because then they could do something else like a mosaic. You know, that cool mosaic art they have down in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
It could mimic the Richardson building.
Don't say that. You're gonna get that on there if you do.
Full of
Okay.
of limestone and whatever it is, sandstone.
Yeah.
Um,
The portrait of H.H. Richardson.
Probably.
yeah.
All right.
Can we look at where's the rendering of?
Oh, they show the signs.
Well, I think they're trying with this bench.
Yeah, that's trying to be.
I think it's trying to mimic the historic building, but it's not historic.
No.
This is the wrong approach. There is a way to relate to, but I think this is the wrong approach.
So we actually need
Watch it
to
get clipped by a truck.
that we need to actually say that perhaps then. That
Mhm.
this is not because you know what, I noticed that too, and then I didn't say anything about it. I'm like, that doesn't look right. Yeah, that needs to be a much more modern. Sorry, the dog is totally squirming right now. I don't know what his deal is, and he's sitting on my lap. Okay. Maybe that pergola or that covered canopy, however they're referring to it, needs to have a different roof to it. It could be a flat covered pergola. I could put greenhouse plastic on top of it or something to that effect. And they could put plantings, vines growing up it. They could do what they did downtown. What do they call that garage? Post Office Square?
Whoa, that's pretty ambitious for this project.
Well, I want people to think ambitious for Ashland. I mean, that would be, can you imagine having that down there? It'd be gorgeous. Even if it was little. Can you imagine if they did it across the facade of the building? It'd be spiffy.
What do I want to say here? I'm getting too wordy.
Yeah, you are. I think I wouldn't even, I'd get rid of that entire sentence. Just say we think the roof line is not appropriate for the scale of the park.
I can see why they did it. If they're getting pushed back from planning board to be, that seems like the most logical way to relate, but I agree, it's not right.
It's not just about scale for me though. It's about mimicking.
It's also,
Yeah.
so why don't we say it's that it needs to be of a different aesthetic? Leave it that maybe, or use some other term.
Matching directly. Okay. Can we leave it?
Matching the Richardson building. We could even say rather than trying to match the Richardson building.
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. You're always going to just be trying to match it and never actually achieve it.
Right.
Trying to match it.
Okay.
Okay.
Right. So
Sign it.
that
Yeah.
comment was, which one is that? D3?
Mm-hmm.
I wonder
D2?
if it's not, if we're trying to like match the riches in building, or why not use the plaza to kind of like maybe have an interpretive panel to explain why that building is kind of cool. And maybe,
Pocket Park?
yeah, maybe that pocket park is like the H.H. Richardson Pocket Park, and it has like informational panel or something that kind of gives the history of that train station building and the architect, and you kind of get some sort of kind of cool cultural feature for the
So
fashion.
they could actually do an interpretive sign there. And then for further
Yeah.
information, have a QR code that links back to the Historic Commission.
Yeah, but like, yeah, maybe you don't have, maybe you have like a
There's a page that they
masonry wall
provide.
that kind of looks like a H.H. Pete's with a 18 by 24 panel that kind of explains what you're looking at across the street.
Exactly. It's referred to as an interpretive sign. That's how they
Yeah.
what they call them in like the state, any big parks that have that
And
stuff.
then they could work with the historical commission to kind of really design it and actually increase awareness of why this dentist office kind of looks cool.
Exactly. It's actually terrible.
It would give a little meaning to that plaza as well, rather than just having it be just like
That's actually a better way to do it. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I like that too because in our work we do exhibit design as well in our office, and
You do?
if we're working on a historic project, or we've actually done a lot of adaptive reuse as well of historic properties, like we did the Liberty Hotel in Boston, which
that place is sweet.
yeah. Converted. I didn't work on it, but we converted an old prison into a hotel.
Yeah.
There are a number of modern, just like very clean black metal panels that project up from the ground, and on them is displayed the history of the site. And it's not meant to match; it's meant to complement and kind of hide into the background, actually.
Right.
It'd actually be kind of cool for the kids, or I know like we did like a field trip around Ashland to a historic site. So this could actually be kind of included where you kind of learn about architecture and maybe even appreciate downtown a little bit more.
That's what I've been trying to do with a combination tour between historic and us, to do exactly that in downtown Ashland. Because I think then people would get it a little more, they'd appreciate it more,
Mm-hmm.
and then have a better understanding of what we're trying to do. So anytime you want to do that, I can go wind up some people on the Historical Society to help out. Because I've been talking to them.
Historic lunkers.
It used to be an
I know.
awesome. Don't even bring that up. It's a really sore subject with me. It's probably been very good for our budget and our waistline. It's not Mahivals anymore, but that was an awesome the entire setup there was awesome.
I've heard about that.
You could go like, I don't even remember how many times I suddenly went, oh my God, I forgot somebody's holiday, or Mother's Day, I forgot to get a flower. I can run down there and she would always have flowers out there. There would be a card, something that would be acceptable, because we'd be going up there to my mom's for Mother's Day, or Bill's mom's for Mother's Day, and you wanted to bring something, and plus I would always bring baked goods if we are going with my parents. I didn't need to bring them to Bill's mom because she lived close enough to Zabar's to walk there, so. Okay.
Who is it?
And you're going to design that too?
What's that?
You're going to design the interpreter panel?
Well, who is it?
I thought I heard you.
Conflict of interest. What are you asking?
Well, So Brendan's point, I was asking who in the town actually would start such a conversation about doing interpretive panels throughout the town.
Well, I'm guessing that Joan is listening to this with a lot of interest, and I'm guessing that she would have some cheerleading from the Historic Commission and the Historic Society, to say nothing of us. And that would actually be a great, hang on one second, it'd be a great use of CPC funds, potentially. Joan, go ahead.
Just quickly, so the Historical Commission actually has been doing some of that, and we're working on a kiosk at the Hall House right now. And there are kiosks in the Warren Woods, et cetera. So there are various signs around town. I understand that this one may be different than that. You know, I'm not saying that they need to mimic it, but I really like the idea of the interpretive sign very much.
Do you actually have a sort of a signage template you work with?
Yes. Yeah.
You've branded for Ashland?
I'm sorry?
You've branded for Ashland, so to speak?
Yes, it's kind of, yes, it's each one is a little bit different. It's not necessarily exact, but there are various signs that that you know we can work with and take a look at and get once we get the right information. That's the important thing. And then what we did with the Hall House was we wrote up because that was you know Henry Warren's workplace, and
Right.
we wrote up a little paragraph about it, and then we had some pictures of the original house and Henry Warren and some of his inventions, that type of thing around it. That hasn't gone up yet. It's still under review with the select board to be finalized, but that's what Helen and I have been working on. So
Oh, great. So can we see the Historic Commission about this?
yes, I think so. I would just contact Jim Nielsen. Yeah, they would love to. I'm sure he would love to have you come to the meeting and talk about it if possible. Yeah. I did have one other comment, if I can just chime in.
Sure.
About something kind of hit me a little bit when you're talking about the train station and not mimicking, and I agree, you can't mimic the historical aspects of the train station, but something hit me about the colors that they were looking at last time, and that maybe as opposed to like the grays and things that are totally different, to maybe use more neutral tones on the building that just kind of would not be as such a stark difference, I guess, if I could say. Not exactly. So the blues and gray tones and you maybe use more beigey kind of tones as opposed to that. It was just something that I kind of thought might make a difference, like with more of a brown roof and you know, the siding more different tones. I like the idea of different materials and different tones, but on the neutral side as opposed to the gray side, if that makes sense. Just something to think about.
Sure. We're asking them to put what they're showing here on the sides of the building, which I guess he didn't have time to do before he sent this back to us. So, I don't know. Do we think we could say that now in this, or just wait until I almost think we need to wait until they show us something before we comment on that.
Yeah.
And, because I'm not sure, we send him that comment now, I'm not sure that he's going to interpret it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think we wait. I appreciate the comment, Joan, and I understand where you're coming from on that. I think we should see it in the greater context, and then we can have a further conversation about it. But
Sure.
with the applicant, and you're welcome to join that conversation too when we have it. But so your idea about the beigey tones, is that coming from a particular context in the downtown? You know, should we be thinking about some particular buildings that we should be relating to?
Well, I think if you're trying to, I was thinking more of the Richardson building as opposed, it's all beige and brown tones as opposed to the blues and grays that they're talking about putting this building would be, that those blues and grays make it a totally separate entity in my mind. I actually like blues and grays personally. Those are more my colors, but but I think in this sense, maybe not to mimic it or anything like that, but just to kind of keep it in those tones where it wouldn't be as stark.
Contrast.
Yeah. So,
Okay. Point
just
taken.
a thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll consider that and determine where. I think I don't think we'll put it in this report, but we'll make sure we mention it going forward.
But
Yeah.
definitely please reach out to Jim on the historical commission, and I'll send him a note tomorrow and let him know that you might be coming to talk
Okay,
about.
so, well, I don't think we're coming. We're gonna ask the applicant to come. So when they come before you, because Helen brought that up at the last meeting,
Mhm.
and that would definitely be something that you all can discuss with them.
Okay.
Put it in this report right now, and that's a good way to also potentially I know no, don't put his name in there, please.
Oh, okay.
No, and I would just end the sentence at commission and let the historic commission talk to them more about what they're doing. All right, I just lost my thought. Helen talked to them about the fact they had to come in front of them.
For the demo delay. Yeah.
Yeah, and then this would also be a good way for some additional, if you found anything else more significant about those other buildings, there might be additional opportunities at the front of this building for interpretive signage. Here's what used to be on this site. So, we might have more than one or two, but right now, apparently there aren't any records. I'm not really sure how else you would find them. I think she's asked around all the places she knows of right now, but I think somebody's still looking.
To find about like Evers in those buildings, you mean? Or
No, the two buildings on the site.
oh yes, the two historical buildings. I'm sorry. Yeah, she did mention that to me too. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we are still working on that, or she definitely is working on it. I'm on vacation, so I'm not doing a lot right now, but
I was surprised to see you come on this call, actually.
we just got home and I said, I'll just jump on and see what's going on. That's all.
Oh, great. That's awesome.
Sorry to hijack, but
No worries.
okay.
And you haven't. All right, so Mark, is it related right away with something we're doing right now?
Yes, and just
All right,
just before this meeting, I was on the historical committee listening and all that, but I'm not gonna bring any of that up. The idea of what's going on here and now is how many more pages and paragraphs will be going on this until completion?
well, we have to go through it, so I don't know. I can't answer that.
Okay, because I saw on the agenda that you have a bunch of other things after this. So I was wondering if it's gonna be
Hopefully all we're doing is the minutes after this. We're not doing anything else because this is already taking too long. I can tell you right now. We're gonna get some of the older minutes approved and try to get more stuff as we move on, Mark.
okay. So now quickly for this would be you said it was said before about the buildings and how big they are and all that was before earlier. I wanted to comment back then, but you kept on going. I'm thinking that this project is an oversized for the lot itself, and then with the sidewalks, they are town sidewalks, so that's gonna be an issue right there. And the historical part about the buildings, it's gotta be worthwhile talking to them about. And he didn't get to, I don't know if he did or not, but the storm water, that's conservation. And other issues that is going on here, to me, and I'm not putting it down or anything, but to me, this looks like it could be a final draft for a vote for yay or nay. Am I right?
No, I don't think you're correct about that. We're not doing a final draft. We're doing an interim draft.
That intro. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, Kev, can we keep going, please?
Yes.
Um,
So we're on signage.
Wait, quick question, sorry. Do we
Sorry.
want to still keep the mural idea, or if we are going interpretive, or?
I think the two might go hand in hand potentially. I
Okay,
think
all right,
that's just my sense. I think we could just leave it in there.
okay,
Just
cool.
leave it and see what happens.
So the action item here was that the applicant was to present a generic indication of signage locations for tenants and for general residential building signage. And I think this was my note from the meeting on 8.3, signage for residential and commercial together at Homer. Actually, I thought that was an issue that in the plan, they were saying that there would be signage for the residential and the commercial in this band here.
We actually want to see their signage and we haven't seen it yet. They haven't thought it out and we actually want to see it because I think you're correct. And his answer didn't make me feel any better. Let's put it that way. And you might have the signage together inside, which would make sense, but outside, I think the fact there's no residential entrance at the front outside might be confusing to people, especially people visiting a resident in the building.
Mm.
And that has to be really spelled out at the front. Where do you go?
Yeah, I don't think it's been thought through.
Right.
I think I was saying that the residential signage may not be necessary on Homer because the residential has two doors at the back. What do you want to say?
No, well, I think we just need to say the directional for, the directional signage is lacking right now. And so they have to say something on Homer, because if you're, Susie and Joe have moved into the building and Barbara and Mike are coming to visit them and they don't know Ashland, they haven't been here. They have no idea where to go when they arrive at the site, other than what they might have told them, but the site's full because there's a dance thing going on at the studio tonight. So they parked across the street and they walk over and they're still like going, where am I supposed to go to get to the residential side? They have to have signage that says residential entrance this way at the very minimum on Homer.
Yeah, I think it's a result of the building plan not being flush. I don't think they understand their own plan.
Well, yeah, I think they're rushing it as part of the problem.
Mhm. So signage should be indicated on the elevations and
Can you say clearly indicated?
yeah.
Great, thank you.
My issue with this, which I understand what you're saying, Kathy, that if someone comes to this building and they're a visitor and they're visiting a resident, do they come to the front of the building? But then the actual entrance to the residential lobby is actually on the back. You go through this vestibule and then out of the building again and then inside.
Which
So
also didn't make a bit of sense to me.
it doesn't make sense.
Because I'm like that they have a door and a door. Maybe they should take part of that wall out and just have it open in there between all of those things. Why would they put another door in when they don't necessarily need to?
Yeah.
And why would they have a wall in there that could take it out?
Yeah, I don't even think we should get to that level. I think we're talking about signage prematurely because the building plan isn't flushed out.
Right, but isn't this awkward here?
Which part?
Right, whoops, go back up where you had your hand. No, in the where the two walls are, go but keep going down towards this doorway. Oops. Okay, and then go to the left, which is that wall. This wall between those two spaces, that strikes me as really awkward in terms of people moving in that space, because if that was open and there were columns in there instead, if that's a bearing wall, then why wouldn't they just that would be the obvious place to put some of your signage in from the back or the front. So here's where you want to go if you're doing residential stuff. Here's where you want to go if you're doing, or is that an elevator I'm looking at?
This
That's
is
an elevator.
Okay, that's why that's in there. Okay, so I don't know this. Sorry. I don't know. They've got all these doors, that little tiny vestibule between the elevator and bicycle storage, and then you have another
It's
door.
odd that you have to go in to go back out to go back in.
Well, I just think it's awkward. I think the
Hmm.
entire thing is awkward. And why wouldn't you have that whole area open around the elevator then? So you don't
Why is
have
that door so small too?
why so you don't have to go out to get in.
No, right above paving
Another
type
weird-
3, that looks like a 2 foot wide door.
Okay, well, we can't, I mean, I just think it's
Sorry.
awkward. I just think it's awkward how it's done.
All
And
the
I,
doors are very small.
and I think it's not well, it's got to be accessible, right? On the ground floor, because that's where their accessible units are. And how are you supposed to take that elevator and get upstairs if it's not accessible?
Yeah,
Do commercial units usually have like one door? I feel like that's kind of odd too.
Well, I sort of brought up where the door locations were because I don't like them. And the
You don't even align with the walks.
each one actually has two doors except the one on the far end over on Alden Street. And that only has one. And I said, well, where are those folks gonna go if there's a fire? If if it's out on the street and they can't access it. And he said, oh, he had an answer, but it wasn't. There's a back corridor there. You're still inside the building. You can't actually get to the outside. You'd have to go down the long corridor farther over on that plan. I just thought that was awkward also. Yeah. See that on the far right, that last commercial space that's on the corner of Homer and Alden, you have to go down that corridor to get out.
yeah. I think there are a
Why
number
would you
of,
have why would you have a bump out on Homer Ave, but the access is all the way on Alden? They're right the furthest.
I actually don't understand. I don't know why they didn't put a little door in there too.
I don't know. I don't know.
I find that, and that's actually, oh, I probably just should have said that. Why don't you put one on Homer there?
because they need to give more space to this unit.
Well, that's what I think they're trying to do, but they could still put a door there, and then if that unit needs it, they just keep it permanently locked all the time.
Mhm.
Locked from the outside, and go through on a, crash bar from inside.
Okay, well, we agree that the building planning is subpar right now.
Yes. All right, so let's go back to our report because it's 9:30. All right, so we're
Okay,
yep, great. Whoop, what's next?
so existing conditions so we're on site and landscape. Parking garage comes within the 4-foot property line. Do we need to say anything on this? We did talk a little bit about where the drive lane is in relation to the parking garage below. They indicated that on a plan. But I don't know. Do we have additional comment?
Well, not for that per se. I mean, I still think parking spot 17 is going to be badly impacted by a fire truck, and if it's got a canopy over it, I don't think that little space is going to get a canopy. I mean, potentially they could go around the corner with a canopy, but I don't think they're going to do it. But if they do it, they definitely have a problem with that corner.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you want to introduce, so we sent our letter about the environmental impact statement or study rather. Should we mention that here? I think in relation to the location, proximity to the property line, we have concerns about how it might impact the foundations and
Sure.
and the budding properties.
introduce away. Let's see. I'm looking at the letter actually. Well, the first thing we said on item 2 was the applicant needs to produce an EIS, environmental impact study, assessing the impacts of developing the entire site, in particular, putting in the below grade parking garage, the constant vibration of the trains, and the property's proximity to the railroad tracks less than 100 feet away. And then critical neighboring properties for EIS consideration. We talk about the railroad building and also the gas station. We didn't actually talk about, and we should have, the proximity to nearby. Well, we actually, at the very end of number 3, we say, with these properties in mind, as the digging, jackhammering, dribbling, and blasting will create additional significant vibrations to both parcels as well as other nearby structures. You could lift that right out of the letter if that was easier.
Or we can reference the letter.
See letter of, God, did I not date this? August 2nd to the planning board. That's great, actually. You want to say item 3 of the letter or just say see the letter? Why don't we just say see the letter? That's simpler.
Fine. It's sort of all related to the EIS.
Yes.
We felt there does not need to be, oh, so we've already actually, we addressed this, and I think it's an issue if the planning board isn't reading this and
9-49.
taking our comments into account, but
I would actually, why don't you keep what you just got highlighted and after it in red, just say see above comment.
yeah. I'm gonna
Save
put it here because I want to keep this the way that it was.
Yeah. 8 point, yeah, right.
So this one, applicant shall consider constructability of excavation.
I would just leave it. We didn't discuss it. Just leave it.
Yeah. I mean, I could write this same thing actually.
About the environmental impact study?
Yes.
Yep, okay.
We didn't talk about the pergolas that were a topic of conversation on 615.
I think we just say this wasn't discussed, needs work. Wasn't discussed and still needs work. That we did talk about, and he's supposed to continue showing us that stuff which he doesn't have yet.
Mhm.
So
So I had written, I had written applicant to provide box of samples after next meeting about this is about the pocket park though.
Right, and I just think it's not ready yet. We just say we still haven't received it. Hasn't been I'd like to say really discussed, but we discussed it a little bit. Hasn't been thoroughly discussed. Materials not yet received.
So I want to say about the benches. We talked a little bit about planters at the edge of the commercial patio spaces or
Why don't you make a note there? It says consider planters with benches built into them. Because I've seen a couple of examples of that now.
Or should we just say seating? No one really uses benches. When's the last time you sat on a bench? They're uncomfortable. You can't like use a laptop. I feel like a cafe table and chairs would be a lot better, or at least say seating.
Okay. Let's not like, depending on where you are, there are some sidewalk places that I've actually seen where they have seating built into the planters, literally. And it might be like long bench sections, actually.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Back.
Yeah, I just saw benches, but benches
Yeah,
as part of the planter are better.
I think we have to like, we're not going to get them to do all of what we want them to do, and I think we have to have some latitude here. And then, in a crowded area when there's no other seating, people will use benches. And I think on a, if you're going along on a sidewalk and you're looking for a place to sit and there's no chairs, but there's a bench available, people will use the benches. So you can't like decide what people are going to do. If that's all there is out there, they'll use it.
so I think there was an idea to use these as a buffer from the street as well.
Planters is a buffer from the street, yes.
Yeah.
So the
And-
benches would still be on the inside, because we talked about that. Don't put the benches on the outside of the street, put them on the inside. Because nobody's going to sit on the outside of the street. Unless they have a bus stop, which we haven't even discussed.
And to reduce, potentially do this as an option instead of the large amount of landscaping that they're proposing. Right. Brendan, your point is to reduce the amount of just extraneous landscaping and kind of pull it back and create more usable space in that area. Isn't that? Oh, did we lose him? Looks like we lost him. Where'd he go?
Yeah, we might have lost him. Hang on. Oh, he lost power in the house.
Yeah, we lost. Yeah,
Oh,
Brendan
you
is
did
not.
too? So can you still keep going, Ujwala?
No, I have power. I said we lost Brendan.
Oh,
Oh.
okay. Okay.
Do we know that he lost power?
Yeah, he said that. He just texted me. So I didn't think it was, is it raining out?
No, I'm surprised I didn't lose power this morning.
Are you still at quorum?
I missed the, yes.
We
I
are.
missed the there was a little bit of thunder. I don't think I saw that much lightning, but maybe I missed it. I mean, we got some serious downpours. I was
Keep going.
Yeah, let's keep going. So, we could put in the comment. Well, I think we need to have these meetings with Brendan if he's gonna have these comments about the landscaping. Because he and I fundamentally disagree about some of it, but I think he's on to something perhaps. We might be able to simplify it. So where's the actual, I can't read that right now. Yeah. Can that, there it goes, much better, thank you. I think we just leave that and move on. I don't quite know what to do with the landscaping right now. We really need him at the meeting. We need to have a comment about it.
Yeah, I'd like to understand how we can come to resolution about that streetscape, and if we want more landscaping or less landscaping.
Well,
I don't know how to
I think-
respond.
I think I haven't sent you a couple of things I need to send you. I was actually hoping I was going to get some more stuff sent back by one of the suppliers who has totally ignored my request right now. So I don't know how they do business. They must have some giant projects and they don't care about somebody asking for some stuff for a design review committee. Just
What is
just leave that. I
don't,
they
this
need to,
wasn't, this wasn't confirmed yet, but I think we should leave it on here.
I do too, and I actually think we need to tell them to label it as the street sidewalk on the drawings. It might be apparent to some people. It's not going to be apparent to everybody.
Well, what would that be if it wasn't the street sidewalk? Maybe it's too
Would be-
apparent. I don't
Well,
know.
it would be something that they would be providing. And then there'd be an additional street sidewalk, which is how they got into trouble with 12 Pond.
Mhm.
It just needs to be clearly labeled that it's the town sidewalk, not the applicant's. Town sidewalk, period. I would, yeah, simpler is, no, yeah, just take off, yeah, there you go. I think that's good.
And so we have the note in here already about the underground utilities to confirm if that extends down Homer. So
I think just put it back in there again.
yeah,
or-
I'm not going to take it out. It just, all of this needs to be reviewed in more detail, right?
Yes,
Understood. G.6, applicant to verify the net change in impervious surface. We didn't discuss this.
that needs more discussion. I mean, they're talking about it being paved back there, but it's not really paved anymore. And it's
Yeah.
pretty rough, whatever's out there, so it's a lot more pervious than they think it is.
Mhm. Some of this is, we're in this process of the planning board giving approval for the project to go forward, but we're like at least a year or two away from actually seeing a permit issued for this project, and some of these questions would come out of the final design documents and when it actually goes through permit review.
Well, it was like the discussion about the critical root zone, where Julian said he would definitely mark those trees. And actually, we have to figure out where to put that in here. And we need to see this stuff on drawings, and we need assurances that it's going to get in there. I actually think it's down here under landscape.
Yeah.
Because it was this on the original site plan. I think what we just say is assurances were received from the applicant.
This
Because,
is a sorry, this is a new item.
yeah, because Julian and I think it was Rick actually said that the critical root zone documents could be put onto the actual construction drawings so that appear. And I was like, that would be great. That would be fine. Because as long as they're either have to be in the planning board decision, called out on the planning board decision, or they have to be on the final drawings. But if we don't call it out here, it'll get forgotten or it won't happen at all.
These are the existing root zones, is that right? For
You
trees
can
that,
refer them as protecting the existing trees as discussed, protecting the critical root zones of the existing trees as discussed. See diagrams sent by design review. And you all were CC'd on those documents today, which is part of the same package of stuff that I don't even remember how long ago it was now. Joella, do you remember how long ago it was that we sent that stuff over to the planning board?
I think it has been some time.
Yeah, like at least a
Now
couple
that-
years, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because I remember that was a meeting where Trisha Kendall said, "Oh my God, this planting diagram is showing to take the metal basket off the tree, and we just pulled a dead tree off our property. It had the metal basket still on it." And I was like, "Yep." I go to properties and people say, "Why is my tree dead?" And I go, "Who planted it for you? Did you all plant it?" And they go, "No, somebody else came and planted it." I'll go, "Well, let's take a look." And I always find the wire basket. Sometimes it's sticking up above.
so what is the action item on this? We want the planning board to include that in their decision.
No. Could be added to the construction documents. That's the action item. Construction documents, comma, to protect existing trees on site. And you could say, see diagram sent by design review committee, the planning board has previously seen. I'm not sending anything new. Okay, let's keep going here.
So this is site sustainability, not building sustainability. Permeable pavers, we were expecting the design and detailing of the pavers, and we did talk about this, that they're drivable pavers that then get, that pattern you don't see over time.
Yeah,
Over.
well, he needs to show us that stuff, Kevin, because I'm going back and forth about what he actually said about specifically what the product is. The other thing he said is, because I was talking to them about the shoes on the snow plows. So I was asking them basically to make that whole patio permeable on the front, and they could use shoes on the plows. They could specify in their operations and maintenance plan that whoever was plowing it was going to have shoes on their plows, and that's a term for the little gizmos they put on the bottom of the plows.
Mm-hmm.
They're like $50 a pair. They're cheap actually for a plow. That's incredible actually. But it just raises the plow enough so you're not catching the corners and picking the bricks up. Because the entire plow surface is down on the ground. It picks the bricks up. It's almost impossible not to do it. I mean, you can do it if you raise the plow a couple of inches, but most operators forget to do it, and then it's too late. So that's why they put the shoes on the bottom. You need to say permeable pavers in that. Well, both.
Three adjectives.
Yes, please. On the products, plural.
And the method of plowing the pavers as required by the fire department.
Well, the fire department doesn't specify plowing, they specify clearing. So the clearing of the snow piece is something they were specifically going to address in their O&M plan, that if it was getting plowed, they would use the the shoes on the plows. I wanted to call them bumps, but that's not the proper technical term.
All right, I'll just take that out then.
It's actually clearing. It's not plowing the pavers. You have to say clearing because they might snow blow. We can't be telling them how to do it. They can just say clearing the pavers
Of snow.
of snow. I mean, you could do like semicolon. If plowing, they will use plow. It's not wheels. Plow shoes specified in their O&M plan.
What are they wheels? What are they?
No, call them call them shoes, please, because only a couple of them were wheels actually. Because I spent a bunch of time looking at this at one point, and it took me a while to figure out what it was till I found a document from Minnesota that talked about it, and then I could look them up. And most of them they're I don't even know how to describe them, but they're similar to the pads you put on the bottom of furniture, except giant for plows.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I just don't know what they're
And they
called.
bolt to the bottom. They're called plow shoes. I'm telling you what they're called. It
Oh,
seems a little weird, but they're actually plow shoes.
oh,
I'm,
plow shoes. Sorry,
it's an actual term. There you go.
it's snowshoes, which is something entirely different.
Exactly.
Pavers are. Do you want to mention what they told us about the rating of the pavers? They said that they're H20 rated for drivability, and I was gonna say that they'll be filled in with clover, fescue, and wildflower.
Well, actually, he's getting us the seed mix for that. Because I have to look up that seed mix. So you need to put that in there. Actually, they're going to provide the seed mix because they're providing the seed mix for this and for the patio.
Um,
One of those was the one up on the patio is full of a lot of annuals that will not stand the test of time. Like they'll have to keep constantly reseeding it.
okay. Do you want me to change anything, or
Is that H-20 rated, or they actually say that as H2O and people know that it's not water rated?
it looks like it's H-20.
Yeah, I'd put H-20 in there just to make it clearer to people.
Although this website is not doesn't have the dash.
Yeah, yeah, I'd put H-20. Otherwise, there's going to be a lot of confused people around. Because if you look up H-20, it shows up with the pavers, right?
I don't want to.
You can't spend the time doing that. Let's just put H-20. If we're wrong, somebody will be sure to tell us.
Civil drawings. So maybe we don't do anything with this one. They still owe us civil drawings.
Right. Well, they actually did. They're in the latest documents. We didn't really discuss them, so I would leave that for right now.
Okay.
And
Maybe this should be up with the building.
Well, no, nope. We discuss it up in the building already?
Yeah, so maybe I take it out.
Well, we have sustainability there. What's up at the top before you start taking stuff out?
I'm not taking anything out yet. I was just looking at, so sustainability about the building. This is what we have noted.
Right, but I think that isn't what we had up top about parking.
Mm,
Because we were talking about so why was this up in
Okay. I don't think we've talked about the number of parking spaces.
well, okay, I can't tell.
We haven't gotten there yet.
Okay, so let's just leave it here and keep going. I'm less concerned that we might be being redundant than I am that we're
Yeah,
at 10 o'clock and we're
right. Okay. They were to provide a grading plan, which I think is related to the civil, so let's just leave that one on there.
yes.
This one's about the loading zone for only 2 vehicles and the access across the site. That could potentially be a problem.
Right, and the other thing is that that's actually labeled for emergency vehicles on at least one drawing. So which is it?
Yeah. Oops. So I should mention that here.
I think so.
So this is the new comment on this one, and I had put this in here during the meeting. We talked about having more space for, having more usable patio space in front of the commercial development. It's a very general comment, but maybe we leave it.
I think we leave it
Okay.
because I think it wasn't. Is that in red?
It's not in red.
Are you so maybe leave it then because you've got other ones that aren't in red either. That's fine.
Yeah, because I think it's really that they hadn't addressed this. This is a follow-up comment, and they haven't addressed the main
Well,
main comment.
we actually need Brendan to have that discussion with them. We need to and I think it needs a lot more, it needs some real thought.
The discussion of the landscape, though, I feel like is secondary to the building maybe not being viable because of the lack of parking and the size of the project on the site. You know, should we focus our time on that discussion? And also
You want to
equal,
say that exactly what you just said, because that actually is the crux of the issue here. And I'm
well,
not
it
sure
is. I
where
don't
we
even,
say it, or if we say it in the email that I send over to them that accompanies this document.
yeah,
Because honestly, I think that's part of what we keep wrangling about here, is that that's really the big issue.
right. I mean, I kind of feel like we're right now wasting our time on smaller issues.
Well, I do too. So I think, since you keep saying exactly that, I think I'm going to ask you to send this email on behalf of the committee that goes with this when you're done.
Okay.
Because I think that would be, that's actually real, I think it's really important, and I think I don't know, for whatever reason, they haven't uh thought about this, but it's handy that we're meeting with them on Thursday, so.
So are we are we working this into a final version that we're sending tonight?
I hope so.
Okay.
That was the point of meeting tonight like this.
Yeah. I mean, I also feel, just to further my point, I also feel like talking about the materiality of the building is maybe premature as well, which I don't want to say because, you know, I'm happy that we're reviewing the project. But maybe there's a calculation, there's a numbers game, there's, you know, something about the feasibility of the project that might not be working, and we should be between the planning board and ourselves, we should be focused on that before we start, you know, approving materiality and landscape.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of the problem here, is that they're shoehorning a giant project into a small space and trying to make it work.
Mhm.
And then, you know, honestly, what we don't actually know from our end is how much we don't know, because we don't have anybody on, we don't have a consultant on our end in the town who can say to us, this building is making more than enough money, or it's barely breaking even. We don't have somebody to actually specifically tell us that.
Mhm.
And I've always felt like, ever since these really giant projects started coming in, that we actually need somebody, you know, on the town payroll that, you know, we put that cost back into the building permit or the site plan application, however they do it, so that we can consult an expert like that, because then we would have a much better idea of where we stand in terms of, you know, getting stuff set back a little more if we want it, getting it to look a little better, separating it into two buildings instead of one, because they're going to lose some units that way. You know, the issues with the parking, I mean, the issues with affordable housing, all that stuff would start to sort of fall into place. The only thing that I know of is the stuff that I sent out a lot earlier this year to design review and the planning board, that I found after hearing about it, hearing an interview and then listening to it again online, was the stuff about the parking spaces and how costly they are per unit in a building. And I was shocked. I had no idea they could be upwards of, you know, between $10,000 and $20,000 a unit for the parking spaces. And, you know, that really flips some of the equations of putting these projects together.
I think it's even more if it's, you know, you're trying to build a parking garage, and especially one underground.
Well, I think they said that actually. I think they were talking about above ground parking for the 10 to 20, not, you know, parking spaces below, and not adding the things like they have, I think, over at 12 Pond, the stackable parkers, because that's, you know, those are expensive.
Hmm.
So, okay, so where are we with this?
Sorry, I was just looking at this the summary of GCG's report, and they talk about the layout of the lower level parking and the lack of parking spaces. So I think this goes hand in hand with the environmental impact study. You know, we're saying that that should be conducted, and also a traffic impact study should be conducted to, you know, if they don't have enough parking on site, how does that impact, you know, people are parking somewhere else in the downtown.
Right, so one of the things I want to get into this report is the comment about the pedestrian crossing and having some kind of a lit pedestrian crossing the second somebody's standing there on the sidewalk to go across the street. And I think they have a similar signal over at the library now.
Okay, where, oh, here, well, pedestrian access.
There you go. Can you blow that up a little more? The later it gets, the harder I have seeing. Sorry.
You know, seems like we're not going off the minutes, but
Did we talk, back up before we do this? I'm sorry. Did we talk about the solar panels on the parking, which I think we did up above on sustainability?
yeah, at the beginning we talked about the canopy.
Should we just say see note from above under sustainability?
Oh yeah, I was going to come up to these. Well, we didn't talk about this one either. So solar studies. Well, so this is about
That was
shade.
actually the shadow studies.
Yeah.
And it should
Well,
say shadow, not solar. And that needs to be revised.
mhm.
That's, and if that was on, yeah. And then where do we have the thing about the parking and the EV?
That was at the very beginning.
We didn't have it under sustainability.
It's under the building sustainability. So we have two sections of sustainability. One is about the building and one is about the site. And so we put that here.
Weren't we also going to say on this that we were going to, I think we just make a note after at the very end of this. See further notes above or below, wherever they are, regarding solar canopies. Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Okay.
So,
For some reason it's that can off is highlighted for some reason.
yeah.
Oh, that's because you were looking for it. Okay, never mind.
Okay, we're almost there.
Good.
So this one we didn't look at yet. The bar, the north bar was moved north by 2 feet. I'd said that it feels more generous, which is generous for me to even say that.
Why don't you say feels a bit better? I wouldn't even, you know what, I'd take that out altogether. Just leave it. And that was actually to put raised planters, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I'm gonna say, however, it was noted that the raised planters will contain material that may not grow high enough to provide the intended privacy.
Right. And then applicant was asked to provide different plant materials and to look at the seed mix. Because they were just going to do that with the seed mix. And I actually don't think that's going to work necessarily. It would work as if it was a baseline for like a tree growing out of it or something, but it's not going to work.
No.
It needs to be looked at really closely. Because if they don't take care of it, it's just going to be horrifyingly awful up there.
Agreed.
Okay.
So now we can go back down to pedestrian access, access to resis through the garage and a main lobby off Homer Ave. That's just a note. We don't have to do anything with that.
It's actually, I think that needs work because you have it as it's through that main lobby, but it's awkward. Maybe we say that in there.
Mhm.
It's awkward and would need lots of signage to work. Lots of good directional signage to work.
I think it actually needs a redesign. Like, forget signage, actually.
Well, then put it in there like that because I couldn't agree more.
Let's push for a better design, not signage that tries to make better a poor condition.
Yes. Thank you.
Redesigned with separate commercial and residential. No,
Should be redesigned.
period.
Yeah.
Well, I was trying to say
Say
that I think the two uses should be kept separate. I think they should be kept separate, don't you?
No, not necessarily. The residential entry sequence is awkward. I think you could say that in there. Because if they design it better and they have proper signage, then there's no reason why you can't walk into one lobby and you go one way for the residences and the other way for the commercial. And in fact, you can do that over at the bagel table because you have to go out into the lobby in the back to get to the bathroom that services all of the commercial entities in that building. I got challenged being out in that lobby one day. Like, what are you doing out here? Because the person didn't recognize me. And I said I was coming from the bagel table.
Well, I think that's why they should be separate. We typically design a totally separate entry for the residences so that they feel like they have their own space. It's secured. It has different access hours.
So if you want to say something to that effect, then we should probably, because that would make sense. Because there's no real way to secure it otherwise, which is a really good point. And that's just like one more thing they don't really have enough room for in this building.
I think it will be tough. It's a security issue also because it's not easy to, you can't question a customer a commercial customer.
Well, it's awkward when you do,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what it was. When the person who was questioning me realized that I was actually there for a legitimate reason, they didn't like it very much, but they couldn't say much more.
Yes.
Security of Yep, perfect. Okay.
Is it perfect?
I would have said residential versus commercial if you want to change that. Because it's really the
Yes, I think. Mhm.
there you go.
Because if I'm renting a place, I'm not going to check, how many entrances it has.
You wouldn't even think about it until it becomes a
Yeah.
problem, actually. Okay. What else we got here, Kev?
Public bike parking, residential bike parking provided in the garage, quantity to be reviewed. We didn't talk about this really.
Not really, yeah. And they sort of tried to push off the public bike stuff would be up to they tried to push that off onto their commercial tenants. But I don't actually want them to get away with that comment. I think they need to be a little more thoughtful about it. That's why I brought up the benches with the bike things.
Okay, I don't know what to add to this right now. I want to add some I want to finish adding the new items that we want.
Sure.
So so you're looking for an item about lit pedestrian crosswalks.
Jwala. There she goes. Because that was one of the comments. And
So, site lighting must be reviewed along with the town street lighting in conjunction.
appropriately shielded from residential apartments. We would recommend street bollard or street level lighting as opposed to overhead lighting for this very reason.
I think he did mention it'll be bollard or the landscape lighting. I think they're not planning for street lighting, but the town street lighting will definitely affect the residents.
Right, and I think we need to say all this in this
Mhm.
comment. I'm totally with you because that's going to be obnoxious if you're in the corner apartments over there and the town street light is there. I had
Figuring out where to put this. Should this be under landscape site improve? I think I need to move this up to site improvements.
What is it under right now?
It's under pedestrian access.
Well, okay, so either way, we still need lit pedestrian crosswalks and we still need lighting at the street level. And I think we say that there and then move the rest of this comment in its entirety up to the top. So some of it you're going to copy and put it up there, Kev. I think that's the best way to do it. I think we call it street lighting or street level lighting. I don't think we specify bollards necessarily. We could say street level lighting like bollards because it could always come from, if they used like gooseneck signs on the signage, there's spillover from those signs facing down. Sorry, my cat's meowing piteously in the background.
I couldn't hear it.
Oh, good.
I want to say that, so we recommend that um, the town's street lighting be considered in in how it might impact the residential units along Homer and Alden.
Yeah. I think I would take the word might and use how it impacts, because there is no doubt in my mind that it's going to impact them if it's on that pole. So he was actually talking about, yeah, just keep going.
Site signage was not reviewed. We've already talked about this above, so I'm
I
gonna
would-
skip.
I would just put take if proposed and put period after reviewed. Yeah.
Here's parking again.
Yeah, so I just say C needs more discussion per GCG peer review of June. I think that's June 3rd.
Okay.
Okay, we could say from June.
Just leave that one as it is as well.
Yes.
I made a note about the commercial space that was updated and they relocated a stair, which resulted in the current plan that they submitted.
Do we want to see an entrance on Alden or on Homer, excuse me, for that last space? As we were discussing while Brendan was still on with us before he lost power.
Um, does Alden want to be a commercial street? Should there be entrances at all in Alden? And if not, then there should only be an entrance on Homer, I think.
Well, to be perfectly blunt, I don't like that back exit through that back hallway. And I think that Brendan was essentially agreeing with that and you know, and grumbling about the general design period of what we're seeing and wanting something more. And the consistency piece to me says, if every single potential blocked off section calls for that, or, you know, has a space like that, then potentially they could put it there anyway, because it'd be consistent, and then they might not use it. I mean, there's plenty of places where I see doors and they aren't being used, and they'll have signage on them says, please go around to your left to the entrance. But it's there in the event of, a fire or something. In fact, there's a shoe store that moved from its original location in Newton to a new development farther up on Washington Street. And they have a couple of those doors till you get to the side door in the back off of part of the parking there. And there's a street door on the side street that they're located on.
Hmm.
And I've seen that multiple times. So I just think I don't know. I think they can put a door in for that. It will look better and it gets used or doesn't get used. I mean, if they were, for instance, going to put a dance studio in there, I can see that being I think the dance studio will actually have to erect some kind of walls inside so they have enough bar space. Keep some of the lighting from the front and, do some kind of something on the front to make it look good. I don't actually know how that would work over there.
I don't know. I think I'm agreeing with you that, I mean, I think there's a fundamental code issue with that long corridor anyway. I think there might be a dead end corridor situation. It's not code compliant. But in addition to that, there should be more direct access to the front and out the back of each commercial space, tenant space.
Yeah, I think that far space is depicted on the right just needs an entrance on Homer just to keep up the continuity.
Mm-hmm. Where was I going to put that?
Well,
Here.
what do we got? Well, it could potentially go under miscellaneous or it goes back up. I don't know, at the top maybe. I think that's good. Okay, do this. So did we get thing about parking space number 17?
Kevin, did you mean due to parking the radius? Sorry, here.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I do. Where did I see that? Parking.
It's here. Same above. Right here. 8.3. Where your cursor is, the first line. No, bottom. 8.3.2023.
That's the date though. What?
No. In the parking radii.
You actually have parking radii in that comment.
Yeah, that's what. It should be radius, right?
That's a plural of radius, actually, unless it's a little
Okay.
awkward. But I think that actually is the official plural.
Okay.
Kev, we could put
I think I'm overtired because I still don't see where I wrote radii.
all right, hold on a second.
Oh,
Don't worry about it. We sorted it out. It's okay.
Okay.
It's right there, and I think that is the correct plural of radius.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so let's go back to this other one, which is Asto bus 40 engine and parking lot space 17.
Hmm.
And
Under traffic.
we should just put another one here. We should just make one more entry under this.
In traffic.
It's not the traffic per se, it's the fire engine traffic per the GCG report and parking lot number 17.
Yeah.
Parking space number 17, excuse me. And we
Well-
might just say in this, especially since we've asked for solar canopies out there.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to say that we agree with the GCG report?
Sure.
overlaps with oh yeah, what was it? It was what's the name of the apparatus? The
ASHTO, which I think is ASHTO bus 40. I'm not sure why I think that. I might have seen it somewhere else. So, do you want to go back to EV parking for a minute? Because I'm looking at the minutes.
Yes, I'm just finishing this one with the Ashton Butts 40. What's it called? Turning study. Okay, where do you want me to go?
Well, this is going back to the EV stuff, where we had this conversation because George was asking part of the question about what voltage the EV stations were, and he actually said 240 at every spot. And then he goes, well, you don't expect that I'm going to pay for this, do you? And we actually pointed out that lots of places actually do provide for a couple for commercial and some for the residential. So
He was asking about who pays for the electricity. Yeah, so one aspect is the installation, and the other one is who's paying for the electricity to charge cars every time they hook up to it.
right, and that's why I think we talked to him about grants and to look into it and see essentially, because and he said he would. I mean, he was talking about having that solar expert, so I'm assuming the solar expert knows something about all of that. But a lot of these other places are going to provide some of them, and then, I don't know, maybe they were going to have cards or whatever. But there are some that have been gotten with grants, and there's no charge for them. Okay. And so we don't, do we have anything somewhere about site furniture?
Okay.
Because I think we should rethink some of the site furniture so that we can combine the bench and biking and bike rack. Do a combined bench bike rack unit at the very least.
Yeah, do you want to try to mention that in relation to the planters? A planter.
Well, in the ideal world, they would also be part of the planters.
Yeah. This is Ashto, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Of course.
It is a double A. Double A SHTO. Planter.
Yeah, I've seen that before.
As a butter from the street, I shouldn't be doing this anymore.
Okay. So open space and community, let's put it in there. Yep.
As
Maybe creative organizing of site furniture to potentially combine functions of planters with built-in benches that also function as bollards and bike racks. We'll leave it at that. Organizing set first, my function to planters. There you go. Lovely. And then somewhere in landscaping, we just need to say that they're looking into trees, to other species of trees they could use out front. And it's actually dependent on the height of the poles and the wiring.
Native tree species.
Yes. Well, let's just say trees right now, because I told him, I said, look at natives, and then if you really can't find any, we would consider some other ones. And I would like him to use natives, but I'm not sure he's going to find them depending on what happens to those foam poles and how low the wires are.
Mm-hmm.
And he was looking into Cercis in particular, but it's hard to know based on what you read about Cercis whether it would work there versus what I know I saw on up at the intersection of 117 and 126. As you're coming from the south, they're on the left-hand side, or they were.
So you want to say that can grow tall, that
Well, no, no, I just think we have to avoid conflict with the wires and leave it at that. They have to figure that out. I mean, you can always go to the New York Street Tree City list and find a bunch of examples, but I don't know how many of them are native.
Mhm. Checking my notes.
Okay. Oh, that patio up above,
Mhm.
we need to say something about the fact that the applicant agreed to use bison wood paver as opposed to
Mhm.
fake artificial turf. Which will be outrageously hot in the summer. Now you, excuse me, once you're done with that, let me know.
What was it that they were proposing that would be hot? The stone pavers.
No, well, artificial turf,
Oh, yeah.
because turf is a different connotation than pavers. You know that the pavers are going to be hot, but turf, you think it's not going to be hot. There's a ton of issues now with kids playing on fake turf, and you can't play in really hot weather because it's incredibly hot, and they get contact burns, like third-degree burns when they fall on it. They get dehydrated much more quickly.
Mhm.
Um,
I wanted to mention the 3 units that I don't know. Well, I shouldn't say who's aware of of what or not, but the 3 units that only have access from the green roof, I think is that really shows to me that the plan and the
They have access going in from the building also.
no, they don't. And I think that is the craziest.
Oh, okay, yep, then no, you need to say that. I don't know if GCG said it, but just say it in this, because that's important.
These 3 units, there's no hallway. They said, they couldn't get a hallway through here, so they
That's
just
right.
give them one.
That's right. No, you need to say that. I think that's important.
Unit 1, 2, and 3.
That's another way. I wouldn't even specify the units. I'd just say 3 of the units. You have it, I have it in this, in the notes as 3 units have access only from the green roof. This may be an egress and life safety issue that must be reviewed to the building commissioner.
Yes. So I think you did. It seems like you did take some of my notes and incorporated them into yours. That was one of mine.
Yeah, I don't know if I cut and pasted or if I actually wrote that in, because at the time when you brought it up, I was like, wow, he's making a really good comment here.
It's funny, this comment actually doesn't fit in anywhere here because it might be outside of our purview, but it's a
really important comment. It's kind of like the end of the commercial space I was talking about, where I think it needs another egress to Homer. I mean, it's our job to notice stuff and talk about it. They're telling us all kinds of things that are out of our purview right now, but the project is better off if we say something when we see something.
Sorry, it's 10:45.
Oh, you're right. But I think we're holding this meeting on a Tuesday because I thought it was important to send this to the planning board before they met on Thursday. So I wanted to make sure that
All right, so we got
we can
10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then I want to quickly approve the June 15th minutes so we can at least say, yeah, we've done that.
Oh, is 10:45 the cutoff?
No,
No.
making the cutoff 11, basically saying we gotta we've got to get through this, because
Okay, tell me what you'd like to do.
I'm losing my mind here. I think we need to, I think we're almost done with this, aren't we?
Yeah, I think we are. Yes.
And yeah, because I've actually been looking at oh, I might have read that thing about the green roof off of your notes, actually.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
Well, the only other weirdo thing was what Terry said to us at the end after we adjourned.
I don't
But I don't
remember.
think it belongs in our report, actually. He just said the city of Newton is about to adopt a vibration ordinance. A system whereby licensed vibrations control person would sign off on it. City council is a permitting authority for Newton, and they fashion these amendments, and their planning board manages this. I just fixed a typo. But I thought that was really interesting. We need to remember that for tomorrow. Okay, so are we happy with this?
I think I wanted to add the item that I brought up about passive house. The applicant Terry mentioned that next we'll be asking for passive house, but actually the building code kind of requires passive house because of the stretch energy code. I don't know if
Put it in there. That would be under sustainability, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. And maybe we just make a section that we keep for forever, it says stretch energy code.
We can just keep it under sustainability, I think.
Okay. Um, you know what else they said that we haven't put anything about in this?
Yeah, what's that?
About the chamfered granite curbing for the reinforced lawn or the concrete lawn.
Mhm.
And the more he talks about using that product as concrete, the more I'm disliking it. There's another plastic grassy pave makes has a product that will meet fire engine specifications because I've seen it in lawns around assisted livings. I've only seen it because I got hit by the plow and pulled up. That's how I knew it was there.
Are they proposing a concrete drivable paver?
It says reinforced lawn or concrete lawn, and I'm like, what is that? I'll look while you type.
What was I adding?
About the chamfered curbing
Mhm.
in that area.
The concrete permeable paver is actually is a grid that doesn't get grown over. You would still see the grid.
Yeah, I think we should actually tell them that we don't want that. But the other one, the reinforced lawn, is what I'm thinking of. And it's a series of grids you roll out onto like soil, and then you plant grass seed into it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm looking at the product truegridpaver.com.
Okay. There's like half a dozen up here on the front. Yeah, see, I don't want to, I absolutely don't want concrete out there. Because concrete gets too hot and it looks terrible.
But they need to tell us what they're proposing, but I thought it was something like this.
That's what I thought too. So I think we need to tell them not to use concrete lawn or concrete pavers for that purpose and just leave it at that. We don't want to see it out there because it won't work. I mean, that's why I don't want to see it. And it looks awful. All the time it looks awful. Yeah, there's tons of this stuff on the market now. And we used to have 2 or 3. Well, if you
The
pull up,
only, the only downside is that I think it's a plastic product, so it's not But it is 100% recycled plastic, so there you go.
Yep. None of them are any good. I mean, concrete takes God knows how much. Okay. So does everybody think this is it now?
Yeah, I think so. I might, I can do this right, yeah.
It's fine if you want to send it tomorrow morning. We're just gonna
I think I'm
authorize.
going to send it tomorrow and do a last look at just the formatting, but not content, and then I'll send it along.
Well, if you see some errors, fix them, please. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, and I think that it would be perfectly acceptable, Joel. I guess I want you to weigh in on this, but from my point of view, it'd be perfectly acceptable for you to say that thing you keep saying about this building, period, and the parking and all that in the email that you will send it with, unless you can figure out a
Yeah.
better place to insert it into this document and say it, because you know, we are having a hard time with it, and it's possible that's the same reason, in the same manner that the planning board is having a hard time with it for the same reason.
Yeah, in the email. I realized we didn't put a comment on this plaza space item.
That's that's where we started having part of the bigger
But
discussion.
I think it really requires further discussion
Yeah,
as related to site furniture.
Did we put that point in? Sorry if we have already. The corner where Kevin said it was not, it didn't seem like 8 feet, the left side corner entrance. The distance from the walkway to the building edge.
right.
I
It's
don't
that
think we
commercial
put that.
section.
Yeah, I think that's the place to put it because we're talking about the street edge.
And it's going to be next to the driveway
We
entrance, I
can
guess.
say that extra attention should be given,
There you go.
or to site plan measurements or
In the required
setback of 8 feet.
setbacks of 8 foot, minimum 15 foot, maximum in this zone, in this district. Oh, I think we did 8 foot.
Okay, it might be useful to say it twice here,
Yeah.
because we don't have a list accompanying this right now, so I'm less concerned about being repetitious. I think I don't want to try to even work on a list right now because we've added so much stuff and we're all tired. So I think we just send this along. Hope they're good at reading it.
Yeah, the list thing, that's why I was highlighting items in red, that was the list. We don't need to repeat it at the bottom, just the red items are the action items.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna respectfully disagree. I think lists are very helpful for people sometimes, because then they know they've knocked it off, they've done it, bidink, go to the next one, bidink, bidink, bidink. But then it's incumbent on us to make sure the list is correct. So yeah, I hope they read this.
Yeah. I actually don't disagree with you, but in the limited time that we have to review these things and create reports, I don't want to.
Yeah, no, we're having
in
double the
not
meetings right now to do this.
Yeah.
Hello. Okay, so I'd entertain a motion that Kevin double check this report for any errors tomorrow and send it off with an appropriate email to the planning board on behalf of design review.
I second it.
All those in favor?
Ujjwala Pavnakar, aye.
Kevin Modai.
Kathy Rooney, aye. Okay, so we got 4 minutes. Can we do, and I guess I'm gonna do a very simplified notes, and I'm gonna embed the report in the notes in our minutes. Yes, and all right, I'm just taking notes right now. And then can we approve the June 15th minutes, please?
Yes, I'm gonna pull those up.
And I think I wrote them actually after you had done this, because you can't take minutes and do this. We gotta have people help us do this. More people taking minutes in the future, because it's really, I can't take minutes when I'm running a hearing.
Okay, June 15th. So this report should, I'm sorry, these minutes should have report number 1 for 9 to 49 Homer attached to them. This is our first meeting with 9 to,
Yeah, actually let's see. Yes, is my answer. So, and I think I would put it after the paragraph about the list and just put it in there.
after the paragraph about the list. What did you say?
Yeah, there's the third paragraph says the list we were asking for from the report. Blah, 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 and I wrote it all down.
Yes.
And I would just put the report in there. That's where I would insert it into that. And I can do that unless you have time to do it tomorrow morning. Which would you prefer?
I would prefer if you could take care of it.
I would be happy to take care of that one. Okay.
I'll do my thing and you'll do yours, and
I'm gonna entertain a motion. The first motion is to approve the minutes of June 15th. And I'm looking for a motion and a second.
I'll make the motion to
Okay.
approve the minutes from June 15th. As well,
I second it.
Excellent. All those in favor?
Ujjwala Pavnakar, aye.
Kevin Modai.
Kathy Rooney, aye. Okay. And then I'm actually gonna make a motion at 11 o'clock to adjourn.
I seconded.
Okay, I'm entertaining it, so I'm gonna put you as making the motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Great. 11 p. All those in favor?
Ujjwala Pavnakar, aye.
Kevin Modai.
Kathy Rooney, aye. Okay, excellent.
Thank you.
Very
both
much.
of you. Yeah.
You two for sticking in for so long so we can finish this tonight. And
Thank you. Yeah.
Thursday, I don't know if I'm gonna see you Thursday, Kevin. I think I'm gonna come on just to make sure she's not that there isn't an issue with the letter.
Yes, yeah, but we
And
may not have a quorum, but
it won't matter. It won't matter because if there are more of us that suddenly want to show up and be at the meeting, then it has to be official. If we're not, we don't have to worry about it, and we can just put something in that says we didn't have a quorum. And we're
the
done.
agenda's already out there, so we're set up to be able to do that.
Right, and that's actually the real reason long after I talked to you about it, I was like, the real reason is in case the others change their mind and they want to come in, they can.
Mhm.
So that we aren't constrained by trying to be too
Yeah.
efficient.
No, sorry, I jumped the gun on that one.
It's all right. Happens. It was
Okay.
fine.
Yeah.
Fixed it for us and I figured out what the real reason was so we have some flexibility.
Okay.
Thank you
All
so
right.
much, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a
Thank you. Good night.
couple of days and we'll see you again.
Yeah.
All right, good night.
Good night.